What's up, guys? I'm Taboo.
And I'm Church.
And we are the Dark Souls 2.
And welcome to Casual Shenanigans.
With one of your hosts, JERMgaming, or Jeremiah, and I am joined by fellow co-host Dave.
Hey folks, I am Dave, the Not So Evil Viking 13.
Joel.
I'm Joel, the shenanigans part.
We are...
Actually, that's the shenanigans part.
Not like the shenanigans body part, just the part of the podcast that's shenanigans.
No, Joel, you're not derailing this intro. Okay, and James will be joining us shortly. He just left. I'm assuming he's coming back, I say in faith, hoping that he will come back, but I don't actually know. But yes, we are joined by the Dark Souls 2, Church and Taboo. So welcome, guys, to the podcast.
Church, Taboo.
Thank you so much.
So that intro will really pay off for the one person that listens to both our podcasts.
Hey, but it's you have to get specific enough that one person is like, "This is amazing."
Yeah, it'll be like surreal for him.
Like you want to stop midway and say, "Hey, Steve, who lives in Kentucky, we're talking to you, Steve. Welcome to the podcast." And one guy named Steve in Kentucky is gonna be like, "Ah!"
Joel's already freaking out right now.
Anyway, that's the dream.
Yeah,
but
Joel may be that one guy.
That's true. Yeah, you listen to both.
Hey guys, I even followed you onto the podcast too.
Well, Joel doesn't listen to our podcast. He just shows up and graces us with his presence and then leaves.
I've never listened to our podcast once.
That's all right. I have no illusions about the rest. I listen to it just so I can hear like what things went well and didn't go well.
I actually listen to it because it makes me fall asleep. Not because it's boring. I know what it. I know.
Screw you, Joel.
Ours, because I know what ours is, but like it's just calming. Like listening to you guys' voice. It's like these are my friends. I'm gonna fall asleep to the sounds of my friends.
This is good. Touching.
I don't know where you
So
come from, but my friends, you don't want to fall asleep around them. You may wake up with something drawn on your face, or let's leave it at that.
Although I must admit, before we had Skype, I just used to pay my friends to whisper in my ear as I fell asleep. So I see where you're coming from.
And we will start the podcast with the news. Now, it does look like Twitch isn't currently online right now, which is weird. Dave, is it online for you?
Let me check it out.
It says it's not online for me, but OBS says it is streaming, so I'm just going to proceed as if it is, knowing that I'm recording this and it can all go up later. We are going to start every podcast with the news.
Is the Twitch stream working?
Your Twitch is offline.
It is offline. That is weird, and I don't know why.
We're going to start our Friday with a beer, if that's all right with you guys.
Quite all right.
Beer.
8 a.m. over here.
Yeah. Breakfast beer. We're in the Middle Ages. That's what they used to actually have for breakfast.
Man.
That's because the water was pretty unsafe, right? Like most stuff had some alcohol in it.
Yeah, that's a way to keep it from like everyone not getting dysentery and dying. I mean, if you wanted to live to see your 30th birthday, like a ripe old man.
What's our excuse then?
Yeah, so
I'm almost there. I'm gonna be dead soon in the medieval times.
Joel, you would have been dead a long time ago. You would have been dead so long ago.
I told Dave, according to Game of Thrones, if I was in there, like the first thing out of my mouth, like I would get shot with an arrow or stabbed. Like make a joke, you're dead. You don't make a joke, you're dead. You look too serious, you're dead. You don't look too serious enough, you're dead.
Yeah.
I would have to be the jester, but then I would probably die like immediately. I'd be like, you'd say something, I'd be like, your mom said that, stab.
All right, so votes. Are we gonna try to get the stream back up and going, or are we gonna move on?
Let's get it up.
All right, let's see if we can get it
take
up
a break.
Here. Yep, everyone, just talk quietly amongst yourselves. I will restart the stream.
Or eat breakfast, whatever.
What do you guys like for breakfast?
Hours to get here, and you're holding us up. I can't believe it.
It's all right. I'm keeping the recording going. I've just restarted the stream, so we'll see if it starts up in a second. So let's just all pass the time. So you guys actually have the day off in Australia, if everyone didn't know. Okay, so what national Australian holiday is it today?
Surprise, it's not national.
Oh, it's
Easter.
not national. Oh,
Easter. Good Friday.
Oh, Good Friday. Good Friday is a holiday?
It is for us.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
This is the longest we get. We get Friday, obviously Saturday, Sunday, but in this case it's Easter Saturday and Easter Sunday, and also Easter Monday. So 4-day weekend.
Wow.
So hang on a minute.
Awesome.
With your, like high rate of Christianity and your Protestantism and stuff, you don't get Good Friday off?
Here's the thing about America. Taking time off means you must not work as hard, and therefore people don't. Government employees get, what is it, like 8 or 9 holidays each year. Most other businesses get the big ones, like you get Thanksgiving, you get Christmas. No one takes baby Jesus away from America. You always get Christmas. A lot of people don't get Christmas Eve, though. But you always get Christmas. You get July 4th, of course. You get Memorial Day, Labor Day, anything that celebrates the troops. And then school kids get off things like Columbus Day, other stuff that's not a real holiday.
It's pretty bare bones, though.
Yeah. Most Americans don't really get to take that much vacation time. Like 2 weeks is pretty much the norm. And then very few holidays. So
okay, so let me blow your freaking minds, right?
All right,
in this country, the standard, despite, we get high wages and all that kind of jazz, we also get 4 weeks annual leave a year as standard. After you work either 7 or 10 years, you get 13 weeks off. It's called long service leave. It's a holdover from our colonial days when they would give you leave to go on a boat back to the UK and visit your family. We get heaps of public holidays. We've got amazing sick leave entitlements. So yeah, if
video games are cheap here.
Already.
Salt in the wounds. Guns. Do you want us just to start pulling all our guns out now and our freedom?
Well, what I was going to say is, now that I've rubbed salt in the wound, go and spend far too much getting it fixed at hospital.
You're very right about that. That's okay though, because we have the best health care, right, guys?
Fast food options.
So you should
you do actually
let your fans that the whole remaining hour and a half of this podcast is going to be Australia versus America.
Oh, actually, that happened 2 or 3 years ago. Some guys I was playing Battlefield with, we were just randomly cruising TeamSpeak servers, and we hit an Australian server with these 2 guys that were about to hop off, and we spent about 10 minutes insulting each other, and then we actually just settled down, and for an hour we just asked questions about the 2 countries. Like, they were like, "Hey, is everyone still upset about 9/11 over there?" And,
nah, we're over it. Come on.
The answer is yes and forever, because that's how America does things. And then we would ask them questions like, "Do you guys have flying crocodiles that carry you off the street? Because it seems like everything in Australia wants to kill you." So,
the extent for me would just be like, guys, say Zed.
Zed? Z? Z? We say Z. Do you guys say Zed?
Sorry.
Z?
Yeah, Zed. XYZ.
Oh, really? You actually say Zed?
Yeah. A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Over in America, we have mic stands that stay up.
So how do you say zebra? Do you say zebra?
That's a great question.
That guy.
Yes, Joel is almost always that guy.
Awesome. Joel's the me, I think. Rocks up late, looks a bit disheveled, just makes jokes.
Joel, you are the shenanigans.
It's okay.
Oh man, here comes the tape.
It's okay. You could just leave it. It doesn't require tape.
No, it's fine. We invite you on our podcast.
Carpet.
You bring your socialized healthcare and your crappy mic stands, and you're like, "Oh, guys,
Church bought our mic stands.
Say the alphabet," and we're like,
"From
whatever."
America.
Well, if you could buy them over in Australia, you would, but
they were probably shipped from America, but initially shipped from China.
Yeah,
made of steel that came from Australia. Figure that out.
They just they sailed close to America, just that breeze of America, and then they came to you guys.
They just picked up the Made in America stickers, and then on the boat they were securing them all up.
So, are you guys going to teach me something about computers, or?
What do you? I don't get it.
Wait, do we normally do that? Or should we start?
I've learned a lot.
Gotcha. Maybe, actually,
I'm a PC maker myself. I was making PCs. I work in tech, IT support, and all that. And I find you guys incredibly interesting. I learn a lot about the latest tech.
We do have some questions coming up later. Starting off with tech
news, I was going to ask, do we have any more super high memory graphics cards to make Joel angry this week?
We do not, but we can briefly touch back on the ARM 295X2 because last week the early reviews were just hitting. Now a bunch more reviews have come out, and yes, the card is just as good as everyone was hoping, except for the price. It's still a little bit steep, but it is absolutely killing it on everything but money. But if you want to spend that much money on it, Have fun.
How much money are we talking about here?
$1,500. It's two R9 290Xs on one PCB with water cooling. Straight from the factory, it comes with water cooling. So instead of running at the almost boiling 95 degrees Celsius that the stock card runs at, both cards stay at under 70 degrees.
I actually listened to the podcast where you guys introduced that card, and my first thought, which I don't know if you can elucidate for me, is does it not have a bandwidth issue having two cards going through one PCI slot?
No. PCI slots are, you can push an incredible amount of data through PCI slots. Okay. PCI 3 slots, Dave, are we anywhere close to tapping out a PCI 3 slot?
Weren't they talking about a new type of slot, though?
They are.
It's just forward thinking, though. Yeah, we're still pretty far away. I think we're using like half of the slot right now, even with the biggest cards.
What you can max out is your total PCI handling of the motherboard. Like usually if you have a 16X slot and then you throw a second card below it for SLI, your slots will drop down to 8X a piece. Like there is a limit of how much you can push through the PCI slots total, but we're not anywhere close to maxing out a single PCI Express slot unless you have everything else loaded up. So on a cheap motherboard, you could. Like a 295, if you bought a 295X2 and then like a $60 motherboard, firstly, you're stupid. Secondly, you would probably notice a big drop in performance just because the chipset on the motherboard wouldn't be equipped to handle that much. And the card would probably break the motherboard in half due to the weight of it.
Very good.
Now, let's start the podcast with the news. Okay, so GameSpy is shutting down. If you didn't know that, sorry to break it to you like this. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off.
Not GameSpy.
GameSpy is shutting down on May 31st. A lot of games that used GameSpy's service will no longer be playable. Now, EA has announced that the Battlefield games are going to be moving onto their own servers. They're dealing with that. You will be able to play all your old Battlefield games. Another high-profile game that will no longer work, though, is Crysis, and Crysis 2's multiplayer modes will no longer be playable.
That sucks.
Now, Crysis is old at this point. It sucks that it's going down. There are older games that will still be working. But Crysis 2 is not that old. Crysis 2 is, 3.5 years old?
Yeah.
I mean, that's usually, 3 years old is when people shut down, NBA games and stuff. Like, shut down games that are annualized. You shut down the older servers to move everyone to the newer ones. But Crysis 2 is not that old. So we'll see.
I wonder if that accounts for. I have Crysis 1 on Xbox. It just came up for free. It was a Games for Win, Games Live, a free game of the month. I wonder if that can still play multiplayer. Actually, I don't even think it has multiplayer. Never mind. That's why.
So all of your functionality will remain intact. Thank you for checking in, Joel, and we will move on.
So wait. Just quickly, why the shutdown? Have they said on their website?
GameSpy, goodbye. They're going out of business.
That's it? Just business model fell over?
They're being a little tight-lipped. It's probably a money thing. GameSpy has been declining in popularity for years. They're not telling people exactly just yet. They're probably trying to sell stuff off behind the scenes, but the implication is that, they just haven't been making enough money for long enough that they have to pack it in. So,
bye-bye.
Okay, so Valve's Steam controller has gotten a refresh, if you haven't seen it lately. It has now added 2 4-button diamonds in between the haptic trackpads. So you have your typical A, B, X, Y buttons, and then you have a directional D-pad kind of made out of 4 buttons. They've added that due to requests from people. They had an earlier design with
they had a touchpad, but they got rid of that.
Well, no. Well, they had a big touchpad, and now they have the 2 haptic trackpads and then these 4 buttons. They say that the controller will be released between October and November of 2014. They didn't make any mention about bundling it with Steam machines or anything else like that, so we'll see what that entails. But I don't know. I'm still not convinced that it's going to be...
That's going to be a very, very hard sale.
Yeah.
Because you guys are skeptical about the... Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, you guys are skeptical about the quality of the controller, as in the usability.
I'm skeptical about the whole idea of Steam machines because I've read every single thing I can get my hands on about it. I love the idea of Valve trying something in the hardware space, but I still don't know who is this for. Are they going to sell this in Best Buy? Is this for people who are going to walk in? Ooh, I was going to buy an Xbox One, but for the same money, let me grab this thing instead. And if so, can you pull it right out of the box, plug it in, and start playing Steam games in 20 minutes? Or is it why, then they've got Steam machines that are going to be on sale. Some manufacturers are making ones that are going to cost $3,000 or $4,000. Why buy a Steam machine at that point? If you've got that much money to spend, why not just buy a high-end gaming PC and then play normal Steam games on it? Like, it's still.
I agree. They're not doing anything better or new than what's already out there.
Precisely.
The streaming feature is cool. I'm in the beta. I think everyone's in the beta at this point. I've used that, and that works really well. Oh, sorry. If they used a version, if they sold like a Steam machine that was $100, basically like an Apple TV, all it can do is stream, and you could just use that to stream your games. I think there's a market for that. Cool. But and maybe I'm wrong, and this takes off. I'm just not seen it.
If you have the infrastructure and the internet to support it. So for America, there'd absolutely be a market for that. But we couldn't even fathom something like that in Australia.
Well, you said you have bad internet. What is bad internet where you are? Like, what is that? Is it just patchy or slow? Or yes?
This is actually quite a big political issue here because our infrastructure is quite old. So our outgoing government that just got kicked out a few months ago was going to build this whiz-bang amazing thing.
Fiber to the home.
Fiber to the FTTP, fiber to the premises. So you've got that's pretty decent, right? And they were saying 93% of us were going to get that. The new government said, no, that's all too expensive. Let's spend just $3 billion less to deliver 1 megabit a second uploads as the minimum guarantee. And so it's all your taxpayer money and you'll get essentially nothing.
Yeah.
What are your download speeds?
At the moment, we're on what's called ADSL2, which works through the telephone lines, and the maximum that you can theoretically get is 24 megabit. The standard that most people will get if they're good, like I have pretty much as good as you'll get. I'm close to the exchange and all that. I get about 12 megabit down and about 0.7 up.
How does that compare?
Well, so here's the thing about America is we don't really do guarantees. In some areas, it's the Wild West and you can get whatever you want. In other areas, you're stuck with something like you're describing where you're stuck with DSL or no fast internet. Like there's no governmental guarantee. Like there's no standard. It's not actually considered to be a utility. Like everyone is entitled to electrical access. No one is entitled to internet access in America. I imagine that will change eventually, but as it is right now, no one's entitled to it. So some people have 2 megabit, and like 56K up.
Yeah.
Dave is paying. Well, do you mind me saying what you're paying for?
No,
Dave?
no, not at all. I just upgraded, so I'm enjoying it.
You're getting like you're 20 down. What are you getting?
25 down and 6.5 up.
For how much?
It's $100 a month though.
Okay. And for the same,
ouch.
For $100 a month, I'm getting 100 down, and it actually ends up being about 125 down and 25 up. If I wanted to spend, I could get fiber where I currently live.
You are the internet.
For $300 a month, I could get 500 down and 100 up.
Jeez. Well, we won't get technical, but yeah. So you don't sound too far different, like for the lower end.
For the lower end, well, unless you're 1,000 feet off the road and you'd have to pay $10,000 to have internet even get to your house.
Yeah.
See, do you have a guarantee? Like, is everyone entitled to internet access or no?
Well, there are regional areas where there's just no access, and that's why the government was talking about 93% as a guarantee. But yes, the existing guarantee before the government spends billions of dollars is actually 1.5 up, and they're spending billions of dollars to guarantee you 1 up.
Okay. Even so, they would skirt that easily by saying anybody with a telephone line can get dial-up. There's your internet.
Yeah. Right.
And you'd be getting literally 52 kbps. So
yeah. I mean, I guess the nice thing about America is if you have the money to pay for it, you can really get anything you want. The bad thing about it is a lot of the time those industries are left to kind of do whatever they want as long as it's not illegal or as long as they can't convince a court that it's legal. So you have some areas that are really awesome, and then you have some areas where one internet service provider, if they're the only one in the area, which is a lot of the places in America, only have one possible choice for internet, and they charge you a ton of money and then put severe restrictions on it and don't care about upgraded infrastructure. So it's like, it's good when it's good, but it's really bad too.
Yeah, well, just don't you take away my freedom to get ripped off when I pay for internet and to get service delivery. Right?
Exactly. See, you're starting to think like an American now. It may not be the best here, but it's ours, and that's about all we can say. But yeah, so internet. Elder Scrolls Online came out.
Yeah, right.
Right, the early reviews are not positive. The early consensus seems to be like, hey guys, this was a great MMO if you released it 5 years ago.
So it's actually out now, 100%
It is out. Yeah, it's out.
Okay.
It's out.
It's funny. The reviews I've been seeing have actually been pretty good. I have watched a good amount of gameplay, but not that much. But
it's a
so
very...
have you heard about...
Yes,
sorry, have you heard about the debacle about the starting areas?
I know I haven't heard anything particular.
Okay.
I've heard there's tons of broken quests, and that's what this news story is going to be about, patches. But is that what you're talking about?
Well, I think that they tie in. So, and I don't know the history of this as deeply as I perhaps could, but Jammer and I played the beta and absolutely hated it and never went back to it. But after the beta came out and the game was in full swing, they discovered some kind of issue with the starting areas. So there was a whole bunch of quest dialogues and a whole bunch of quests and everything that was set up around the idea that you start in one area and then you get into the main world. So the area you start in is depending on your race or whatever, and then you end up in the main continent. And they decided after the game was released, that structure doesn't work. We're going to put you on the main continent when you start. We're not going to change most of the dialogue. So when you talk to people, they'll be talking about quests you completed that you have no memory of completing because you were never in the area where you were supposed to complete those quests. And you can go back there later and do it, but it kind of breaks the entire immersion of the game. The prophet who you speak to in the starting area has one voice actor in the starting area and another voice actor not in the starting area because they tried to change a bunch of dialogue in 2 weeks. And that's really broken as well because it's not a similar link between the two voices. So, I mean, I like the Elder Scrolls for the immersion and for the fact that you kind of lose yourself in it and just do nothing for the next 6 hours. And you just can't do that if it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that seems to be consistent with everyone saying is just it doesn't feel like I thought when I first played Oblivion, if there was an MMO version of this, I would never do anything again. Well, the consensus is this is not that.
No.
This is not at all that.
What a wasted opportunity.
So they're changing things they're changing the treasure chest, so everyone gets some loot regardless of who opens the chest. They're making changes to make everyone. They're trying to make everyone as happy as soon as possible, which is very telling given that the game just released a couple days ago, and they're already backpedaling, saying, "Oh no, it's okay, guys. All these broken quests, we're going to fix them. We're going to fix all this. This is if I can get on my little soapbox." This is another example.
Soapbox.
If you were on a little soapbox, you'd still be. We wouldn't see your head. He's actually standing right now. His camera is actually on top of his house.
Oh my gosh,
his window.
Guys. So my soapbox about AAA game developers releasing games that they know are not ready to be released. They know are broken, and their plan is we'll patch it later. This is another one of those. So congratulations, guys. You suck at developing games.
So the good news out of all this is that it's going to be free to play soon, so that I can play it on the PS4.
Within 6 months, I look forward to trying the Elder Scrolls Online for free. It'll probably be for Christmas. That's my prediction. I'm making an official prediction.
That's a lot of people's opinions. It's make the cash grab now while you can, while you're riding the hype train, and then release free to play. I'm sure it's got to happen.
The hype train started breaking pretty quickly. Not like the Star Wars, even the Old Republic, which also was a huge MMO that went free to play pretty quickly. At least for the first couple of weeks, people were like, "This is Star Wars. This is amazing." And then at the 3-week mark, everyone was like, "That's all the content." Oh, it seemed to be within about hour number 5, people were like, "Oh, this isn't actually fun." And so this seems to there's a lot of backlash against this game very, very quickly. We have one guy in our group, Joko. As far as I know, he's the only one in the group playing the Elder Scrolls Online, and he's already pissed about it. I mean, it was pretty much immediately, and he paid $85. So, yeah.
And I've got at least 25 emails from friggin' Bethesda in the last 2 months saying join the beta. So it's
yeah, me too.
That many people doing beta. How have they not fixed it? How did they release such a broken product?
Or maybe there's nobody doing the beta, which is why they email and you're going, come on, just play the game. Just for 5 minutes, please.
just try it.
Just try it. You might like it. Just the tip.
There it is. That's Joel's favorite.
Just to see how it plays.
I like these guys.
So Titanfall is a game that is fun. And they have announced the first map pack called Expedition. And it's jungle themed. So
come on, space dinosaurs.
Like my underwear.
But they're also adding new burn cards. You can add nose art to your Titans. A few other little tweaks like that. You'll be able to make custom loadouts, a way to filter your challenges by criteria. Like you can filter your challenges by closest to completion and stuff, which is good because there's so many challenges and you earn them so quickly. I never go look at what challenges I have coming up because I'm usually getting, 3 or 4 per match most of the time. And, but all those updates,
those muscles right there. I'm getting like 3 or 4 completions per game, guys. Slide that out there.
All the rest of the updates will be free. The map pack will cost. So if you bought the season pass or you're buying the DLC, you'll pay for that. But all the other updates, they're just going to add to the game. So
it's good to hear that there's a map pack released so early, isn't it? Because you talked earlier about a lack of content in Star Wars: The Old Republic. I got to say, Titanfall is pretty light on for content too. There's not many maps. There's not many weapons.
Well,
I found it quite repetitive.
I like the fact that there aren't that many weapons. I'm glad they didn't go the Battlefield route where you have 45 weapons that are all reskins of the same thing. I like
with attachments.
With attachments. Each weapon is fairly unique. You are right that it doesn't have a ton of content for a $60 game, but it's cool they're releasing a map pack this early because the game works correctly. Not like Battlefield where everyone's like, wait, no, don't release it yet. And DICE is like, here, guys, the game's broken. Have 4 more maps. And people are like, why do we rubber band through things? Why are people killing me in one frame?
I think I know why it seems
DICE is like, more maps, China Rising.
Good. I think I know why it feels like it has less content. If you play a game like Halo, it has when it comes out, it only has, I think, 8 to maybe 10 maps. It's not that much. But in Halo, you have Capture the Flag. You have like this, I forget what it's called, the little domination with a skull. You're hitting people with that. You have SWAT mode. You have Team Deathmatch. You have 4-on-4. You have all these different modes where I think Titanfall could really do to have a few more different modes because I think it has a good amount of maps, but it's like, I kind of almost wish there was a non-Titan mode, just because I love the gameplay in the game so much. It'd be cool to just switch into just a quick, no AI, it's just a 4-on-4 little skirmish, and then jump back and forth between Titanfalls or something. But since it only has a few modes, and I don't really want to play Capture Flag, and I've never played that in Halo on my own with just randoms. I would usually play with my friends and stuff, so I don't usually play Capture Flag on it. But I feel like that is almost. Maybe the idea.
You're right, and I got to say, like, domination in Titanfall is one of my favorite game types. But I guess with what you're saying, if they add in all those extra game types, like Halo had, at least 7, 8, 9 maybe, and you fragment the community. It's great if you have millions of players, but in Titanfall, if the player base drops off, then you've got 100 people in the Capture the Flag, 1,000 people in, the normal game mode, and then nobody playing any of these other types. You just don't get around.
That is true, but I think right now it's got enough community support that you could do that.
I think, people are worried about it right now. People are starting to speculate how long is Titanfall going to be around. It's been out for a month or 2 and everything's going well so far, but that is the big worry with the shooter is how long does everyone stick around. I think it launched at a good time because everyone had it about up to here with Battlefield 4. So I know there are tons, Call of Duty. Yeah. So there are tons of those players playing this right now, but when those franchises announce their next game, I am curious if these new map packs are amazing. Maybe it sticks around, maybe it's just a nice distraction for 2014 and 5 years from now no one will remember it, but I'm enjoying it now. I only play it once or twice a week just because we spend so much time playing other stuff. But I'm having a great time, even if they only never added any more maps. The game is just so fun. Just the basic experience, I giggle on every single time I play it. Something happens where I'm just like, this is just so cool.
Do you guys have it on Xbox or PC?
I've got it on PC. You got it on PC too. Yeah.
Yep.
We should all play together sometime.
Absolutely, we should.
Yeah, add us on Origin.
Because then we can do private matches,
right? Yeah. The timing might be a little weird as far as the whole America-Australia thing.
But weekends
that's all right.
You guys get all these holidays, so... Which I guess I can't complain. I am self-employed, but it's more fun to complain. It's more fun to complain about it.
Yeah, I actually played Titanfall today for about an hour, and after playing it, I'm like, why am I not playing this more? It's just fun every time. Like, just guaranteed fun.
That's the best way I can describe it. Is like it's, every single time I play it, I'm like, oh man, this game is good. And then I move on and play other stuff, and I come back to it, and I'm like, oh, this is still good, and I'm not frustrated at all. I'm never frustrated, even when it's bad. I'm not frustrated.
Speaking of games that were amazingly fun, only online, and then the servers disappeared and they disappeared. Have you played Shadowrun back in the day?
No, I have not.
Spectacular game. It was awesome. It combined, like magic casting with gun battles. Kind of unique in that respect. Really awesome gameplay. Stunningly quickly, the community died for reasons I've never understood. So I bought the game when it was relatively new, and I'll tell you, like 6-7 months later, nobody was playing and it was dead. It's just like what I thought it was onto a winner, just like Titanfall is. Yeah, it disappeared. Who knows?
Yeah, it happens. But I hope Titanfall stays around for at least a little while longer, but who knows? We'll see. Either way, I enjoyed playing it. Even if it's only around for 3 or 4 years and then goes offline, I like it. All right, that is all of the news. Now we do have a listener question. You too can be a part of the show by writing into casualshenanigans@gmail.com or tweeting @casualshenanigan.
What a smooth shout out.
Now, our question comes from Zach, aka Rexauce. Some of you probably know him by his username. He is a frequent participator in everything Casual Shenanigans related. Now, this is not a strictly PC gaming related, or this isn't strictly PC gaming related, but it could be depending on what one does with it. Recently, I've seen many people discuss the idea of Patreon, which is basically like a Kickstarter, but for personal projects and goals rather than commercial ideas for products and services. How do you guys feel about this? I'm personally a little uncomfortable with the idea of people I have never met before paying for something that I want to do and may have no effect on them. I'd be interested to get your opinions on this if you can spare the time during your clearly well-planned and expertly executed podcast. He's referencing when Joel was making... Joel was making fun of our start. Well, the last couple weeks, Joel's made fun of our start, so he probably picked it up for one of those. But Patreon, if anyone doesn't know, it's not... Zach is close. He's not quite on the money with Patreon. What it is it's a way where you can fund artists. I'm using the term lightly. I'm not putting it in quotes to diminish it, but there's a wide spectrum that it's putting under Patreon's header of what an artist is. But you can be a patron of the arts is the idea, where you can pay a certain amount of money each time this person you want to support makes the thing that you are supporting. So as an example, Peter Hollins makes music videos on YouTube. I don't know if you've seen his stuff. He does a cappella stuff on YouTube, and it is quite excellent. He'll do like 100 tracks, of his voice layered on top of each other for a video. So what he does is he says, I don't want to have ads on my YouTube videos. I don't want to be partnered. I don't want to have any sponsorships on there, nothing like that. I just want it to be about the music. So he says, if you support me at the rate of $1 per video, you have access to my patron-only stream where he interacts with people. Like it's a live stream where he hangs out with people. If you pay $3 per video, you get access to the patron stream, kind of like Kickstarter. You get all the goals below it, or all the perks below it. Plus, he'll announce any new songs, online shows, and local performances to you first. For $5 per video, he will release karaoke tracks of every new song he releases for you to sing along to if you want to. For $10 a video, you get everything above. Plus, you're invited to a group Google Hangout with himself and his dog. For $15 a video, everything else, and he'll send you a personalized message once a year.
How far does this go?
It goes up to $1,000 a video. For $1,000 a video, he'll feature your name, business, channel, and whatever you want in the next video with link and annotations.
So that's pretty much. But if you give me $1,000, I'll
right. That's pretty much a sponsorship. It's like no ads on the videos. If you're gonna give me $1,000 every time I make a video, you can do anything.
I will make an ad for you.
What we're essentially talking about is a way for an artist to produce art and be paid for it. What a novel idea!
Right. And so what he's up to now is he currently earns $3,396.48 per video he releases through Patreon. Which is, well, he's a big YouTuber. So
how many YouTube videos does he release a month?
It's 1 or 2. It's not a ton.
Okay.
But they're very high quality. That's why, like, he's not just, but like when a hit song comes out, he doesn't just bust out a quick cover. They're normally very well shot, edited, everything. Like the lighting's good, camera work is good. It probably costs him a bit of money to make these because he does a very high quality job.
He's not really making that much, really.
He's really not. Yeah, he really isn't making that much off of this. Now, who knows how he makes money elsewhere? You know, he might make other deals. He sells his music online, stuff like that. Sometimes things,
you give me $1,000, I'll make an ad in something else.
So,
thanks, Joe.
How do you guys feel about that? I'll just open up the floor. You guys discuss it. How do you feel about that type of system, especially as compared to something like Kickstarter?
I actually think it's really good. Like, it seems really innovative to me. And the thing is that actually the question that was asked couches it in terms of some kind of benefit for me, but no benefit for them. And I think that neglects the fact that you'd benefit from living in a society or a culture that has arts. Like, it's a cultural, submission by somebody to the culture that you live in. And you can support that if you want, or you can live in, some really boring society with nothing going on.
Right. But we do already have YouTube. And for me, this fills that gap between having ads bomb every YouTube video where it causes people to just go out and get ad blockers for their browsers and nobody benefits then, as opposed to going, look, here's a guy that is making quality content, unlike, say, not being an ass here, but like, say, PewDiePie, where he releases a video every day and has the fan base that he's probably making millions off YouTube because he releases every day. We've got a guy called Vati Vidya, that does a lot of like he's very well known in the Dark Souls community because his lore videos are just exceptional, but he doesn't release very often. He has a Patreon, and it's a way for him to make his videos, keep them at a high quality, and still make an income without having to bomb them with ads, without having to kowtow to YouTube and go through all those hoops. I'm for it.
Yeah. What about you guys?
He still releases on YouTube. You can still watch his videos for free. This is just a way of supporting a guy that does quality stuff.
I think the key here is that you're getting a benefit out of it very clearly. Like there's a return that you get for your investment. If there was one of these where it's
Kickstarter.
Like,
honestly, with Kickstarter, there's no obligation for them. I mean, yeah, sorry, go ahead, Dave.
I think it would be different if there was a thing like where if I posted one that said, like, hey guys, I feel like a new graphics card. If you buy me a new graphics card, my games will look pretty awesome, so buy me a graphics card. That would be a whole different story. But if you're getting a benefit out of it, that's an awesome way of kind of getting around the system.
Well, I don't think it's very, very different, though. I mean, it just seems more, cheap to ask for something. But if you were someone I really liked watching you play games and you were way better than I did, and I didn't have a PC with good graphics card or anything, I'd be like, yeah, I love your videos. I'll do whatever it takes to.
Oh, right. But what if I wasn't posting videos? What if I just said, like, I personally want a new graphics card. I can't afford it. Can anybody help me out? You don't really get anything out of it.
That's just Kickstarter.
That seems to be the impression that Rexos got out of it. That seems from the way he phrased his question. That seems to be his understanding of it. But
which is not correct,
Joel, what do you think?
I was saying they're kind of paying for like HBO and stuff. Like, okay, for me, like, I mean, I love Game of Thrones, right? I purchased the episodes on iTunes. It takes a year for the seasons to get on iTunes. That's just how HBO is. So with Homeland, I'm like, season 3's out. I have to wait a year to download it, And so it's frustrating to me because I could probably ask a friend, hey, can you find it somewhere? Could I get?
You ask a friend, hey, can I just be on your HBO Go account?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Well, I love it now, but I'm like, if there was a way for me to just straight up pay whatever it takes just for that show, or to have a digital download version or a stream of only that channel, I would probably do it. But to own cable to have HBO with it, it's really expensive extra, and I'm like, I don't want all their shows. I just want a couple shows. So it's just frustrating. Like if I could give them money, I would, but I have to wait a year. So for waiting a whole year, I'm probably going to find someone who has an episode because I don't want to be spoiled of a show. So I think the same way where someone else is going, hey, I love your show. Yeah, I'll pay for it. I don't have to worry about ads. I think it works well.
Here, what I think about it is it's the type of thing, if you like what someone's doing so much that you'd like a way to support them without just watching their videos or leaving them a like and a comment, and you want to do Patreon, that's awesome. But, a lot of these people, I think they were making stuff long before they got supported on Patreon, and a lot of them say, I read through a bunch of descriptions, and a lot of them said, hey, I only need 20 cents from each person who watches my videos to be able to do this full time so I don't have to run ads or anything else. If some of you donate $1, then you can help support some of the people who may not have the dollar. And I've seen that same mantra repeated a lot of different times, which is, it's cool. So if you don't want to support the person, you can still enjoy their stuff. This is just a way for people who enjoy it enough that they want to help make it better to support it. So I'm going to use our podcast as an example because I think this is very interesting. Right now, I run ads on my YouTube videos. I have a small channel. Running ads on my videos pays for the hosting fees of the podcast plus like $20. That's pretty much what it can pay for. And I'm okay with that. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying that's how much it makes.
Yeah, so you don't go into podcasting if you want to make money.
Exactly. We're doing it for fun. And since it was my idea, I'm paying the hosting fees because that'd be unfair. Be like, hey guys, let's start a podcast. I'm going to need your money. But so we could, for example, start a Patreon where we said for $1 a month, you support the podcast. Thanks. And then for $5 a month, this is purely
I will
hypothetical.
call them personally and just chat with them about personal life problems.
About their mom.
Suicide counseling.
For $5 a month, maybe you get the special Twitch privileges in chat or stuff. I know people do lots of special Twitch things when they stream. Mm-hmm. So maybe or $2 a month, you get special Twitch privileges during the live podcast, something like that. So
I gotta say, Jerm, I want to know about your $1,000 package.
We'll get there. And I would say, so with that money, that would first go towards the hosting fees for the podcast. And then if there's any left over, it would go towards, Dave and I have nice mics and nice webcams. We would buy nice mics and nice webcams for everyone else on the podcast. And then, if we were making more money, get maybe a small softbox and send it to each person so we could have nice video quality.
Or just convince Joel to turn his overhead light on and not podcast in the dark.
But we could do something like that, and that says, hey, and if you do that, if we hit maybe $30 a month, I can turn ads off on all the podcast videos, and we don't need to make any ad revenue off the videos. So,
hey, there's Joel.
So I'm genuinely curious. I want the people who listen to this podcast. I'm not saying we're going to do this. Okay, let me be clear. I'm not opposed to the idea at all. I think it's a cool idea. I'm not saying we're going to do it, though. I'm curious to hear, what do you think? Be brutally honest with us. This is a smallish podcast. Again, not complaining. It's growing nicely, and we love all of you. But is that the type of thing, would you pay $1 a month if it increased the quality of the podcast slightly? I'm curious. If the honest answer is no,
sold.
If the honest answer is no, say no. That's not going to hurt our feelings. I'm just curious, what level do you have to be at for people to say, for enough people to say, hey, I would like to support that using it? Can that happen if you have 20 listeners, or do you need 20,000? I'm just kind of curious where that point is. Same thing with YouTube. The ad revenue on YouTube isn't that great. How much would you pay for your favorite YouTuber to not have ads in their videos? I know YouTube has toyed with a paywall subscription system where you can subscribe to a particular channel for $5 a month, something like that. So that's just what I'm curious about. We're not asking for any money for any of you. But to be honest, I did just hear about Patreon, and I think it's a really cool idea, and I am going to look into it more, because if there was a way for you guys to support the podcast so we didn't have to run ads, and even if it just paid the hosting fees, that would be cool. And we would be eternally grateful. But screw Debbie. That's the next thing I have to say, because in chat, Debbie said she's out. So Debbie, find the nearest ditch.
You get outed if you don't pay.
And then go lie in it. No, Debbie's a IRL friend, so we can make fun of her. She just shows up to troll our comment sections.
Well, that means you know where she lives.
We do.
So just stop watching and just join the podcast for free instead.
Exactly. Yeah, Debbie, we ought to just have you on one week. This is getting out of hand. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think. So write into us, leave it in chat, something like that. Okay, Frenchy Libre says, I'd pay $1,000 for Jerm's personal barber to come to my home and give me that sweet, sweet hairdo. That is a friend of mine. That's Mark, for everyone who doesn't know, who plays DayZ with us. And Mark, you don't have to, so let's say a theoretical $1,000 package. Let's just spitball here, guys. For $1,000 each podcast, that's $4,000 a month. That is serious coin.
Would you just quit your freelance?
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Was this something I was supposed to have standards about?
I
I would quit some of my freelance. I would keep the stuff I really, really like and then dump the stuff I didn't. But no. All right, let's say the podcast made $5,000 a month through Patreon. What would we do? Well, first thing is we would pay everyone who's on it. Like if you're on an episode, you get a stipend for being on the episode because you take time to come do this and everything else. And
See,
Dave,
you guys just came way too early for this.
Yeah, I was going to say, is
You
that
waited a few
retrospective?
months, man.
and Dave is severely undervalued at his place of employment. So we got to do what we can.
That's right. Salt in
Don't
the
cry,
wound.
Dave. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to help you with the internet. But no, the main thing would be just to improve the quality of the podcast. So I'm curious to hear what everyone thinks. For $1,000, though, honestly, I can't think of anything we would actually be able to do for $1,000.
Let's be honest though. Let's be honest with
$10.
people, okay?
Okay.
Can this podcast actually be improved? I can't. I don't.
You make a good point. I think the only thing we could improve is maybe have the video director who's finishing a movie not have the crappiest audio and webcam setup.
How is this the crappiest audio? It sounds decent.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
Your audio is decent. The camera could use some help.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, I'm using my little
Turning it off or
my
something?
little MacBook Air camera.
What if we funded
So-
the podcast?
Hey, I'm getting a new office. Once I'm getting a whole brand new stuff, I'll get a nice new camera. I'll still use it through my MacBook, but I'll get a nicer one. I'll get some lights set up. It's all crappy in here because of Norman. All right, so
Wait, Joel, can you turn on the time machine lights behind you?
Yeah, I see those are behind you. Why aren't those on?
because once I get the new office set up, they're going to be like both sides of the table, just like
Dude, that would be
If they really are,
sick.
that's pretty cool. That's
yeah.
legitimately
I'm actually
cool.
planning on building that behind my office, so I'll have better lights. So just be patient, people. That's what you get for $1,000.
Wait, what did you get? You get Joel's new office. Joel, you already convinced a bunch of suckers to give you money on the internet. We're not doing this again. Uncle Norman's ship already came in. But no, yeah, tell us what you think, good or bad. Rip into this idea. I'm just curious.
Well, my question first is, okay, if you go to this model, do you still release exactly the same way you've always been doing up to this point for those that don't want to pay for the model?
Yes.
There you go. So,
And,
I mean,
and that's the biggest. You're right. You touched on something good. That's the biggest thing with Patreon is if you don't screw over the people who've been following you up to that point, I'm all on board. If you say, hey guys, you're going to have to start paying, or I'm not giving you anything, then you know.
Skylar Lennon in
That's
the Twitch
bad.
comment says, just get rid of Joel. That would be $1,000 in improvements right there.
Skylar, change your Twitch name to not have your full name in it. This is the internet, and you are a minor.
yes,
Oh,
So anyway, that's Patreon. What do you guys think? You guys have a podcast. Is that a model you'd ever consider going to?
we
Or are you?
don't have the follower base yet, which
Okay.
is, you know,
I
why-
wasn't
where-
asking that in any judgment or anything. Oh, that's why that's the only reason you're on here. You're
Yeah,
showing for them
absolutely.
We
followers.
don't actually like you guys at all.
we were promised that, you know, we would get 50,000 listeners after this. What's going on?
If we don't, I'll tell you what, there'll be hell to pay, all right?
You're groveling at the feet of the great American Satan to get those sweet, sweet followers and likes.
It's just like the real world. I mean, Australia kowtowing to the big country.
Yeah, but I suppose on a personal level, it's kind of like if we feel that we have enough to contribute that someone could actually give us some of their hard-earned money for it, then that's the decision we'd make. It's a question of whether we think we kind of have earned it.
Yeah, I think what I like is you can chip in such a small amount. Like there's a lot of things where I could back for $1 a month. Like I could make that happen for quite a lot of my favorite things. You know, I could
But
pick my.
Do you?
Well, I just heard about this today, so honestly, no, I don't. But I've been browsing through them for about 30 minutes before the podcast, and if I find some of my favorite stuff in here, I might actually do that because I really love the idea. And you know, I'm not trying to brag. I could afford $3 or $4 a month, split evenly.
I was going to say that comment wasn't to call you out. It's just
No,
I could pay $1 per month for a lot of things as well. But realistically, would I is the question. So that's what
depends
you're,
on the
you're
thing.
asking your fans.
yeah.
There are some things I would pay for. Would I pay for this podcast? Well, I make it, so I'm not like that's what I want everyone to answer is would you pay for this? And please, if the answer is no, say no. I'm curious. But there are things I think I could think of things I would pay for. Like there are music artists I like. If they said, "Hey, I've written a bunch of songs. I'll release one each month, that I'm just working stuff. I'm just hashing out, not official album things. These are people who aren't signed to major labels. Would you pay $1? Like Joel Sparrow, your jazz band.
Yeah.
The one
Wow, you
track
have a
you've
jazz band?
released, kind of.
Amazing.
They play together once
If
a
you
year or
look
so.
up Bandcamp / Sparrow Band or the Sparrow Band.
Yeah, there's a different one out there, so you want to get that one correct, Joel.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see.
I'll find it for you guys.
It's
But,
called
Joel's the
Sparrow
drummer,
Band.
so I don't know if he really counts as being he's the drummer in a jazz band.
I
so.
put together the entire song. Just letting you know. Just letting you know.
And then played drums. You know how to coast in on those royalty checks.
Honestly, the songs are pretty sweet.
I did all the recording and I mixed it.
But no, what I was gonna say was I really, I don't like jazz as a genre, but I really like the song I have heard of Sparrows. So if you said, hey, we will release a song a month if you back us for $1, I would probably do that.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
And what a lot of people don't understand is we made the comment earlier, like, you don't go into podcasting to make money. We do this because it's fun. And we would do it regardless. But you and me, Jerm, I mean, I think we get it. Like, it is a second job at times. You do put a lot of time and effort. I mean, I cut audio at least 10 hours a week for a 1-week podcast for an hour-and-a-half discussion. It's not light work.
yeah, I used to do that. Then I was like, screw it, let's just record the Skype feed. So you're welcome, guys. You're getting our A1 quality. But yeah, I mean, and that's the same thing with YouTube. Like one of our DayZ episodes, Dave will record for what, 5 or 6 hours for an average episode. I mean, that's usually it's usually 2 nights or so.
5 hours.
Not straight,
Oh,
but
I
I'm
was
saying
like,
like
holy crap.
it's usually it's like 2 nights.
2 or 3 nights of playing,
2 or 3 nights of DayZ, and it's another couple hours to edit easily. So it can easily bump up on 10 hours for a 40-minute episode that in my case 300 people see. Like I'm not complaining about any of this, just it is the reality that it's not a very lucrative. It's very lucrative for like 1% of the people, or not even 1% of the people. Everyone else is doing it because they enjoy it. And that's the idea behind Patreon is, yes, Skylar Lemon, that is so much better. No one will ever know your real name now. But the idea behind it is great, is like for those people you enjoy who haven't made it big, you can still support them. Like Dave, there's that, what's the name of that composer you really love on SoundCloud?
Harry Edwards, who was
Harry Edwards,
unknown
go
last
check
year.
him out. He was unknown last year, not to brag at all, but Dave asked him if he could use some of his music in DayZ videos, and he said sure, because his music is awesome.
Yeah, it's excellent.
He is way too good to have 10 followers or whatever he had.
found him on SoundCloud last year. He had like 6 followers on SoundCloud, and he was posting new songs every week and a half. Excellent,
they're good.
Orchestra songs. I finally used some of his music in January on a Battlefield 4 video that got like 34,000 views. And he finally has like 175 followers now, and he's finally posting music even faster now. I think he's enjoying the getting noticed. But
That's the Casual Shenanigans bump. You're welcome. Oh.
that video was absolutely an outlier as far as views.
but really, yes.
Sorry,
go ahead.
really quickly. DayZ. DayZ.
Yeah, well, you know,
Dean Hall actually said that it is supposed to be DayZ, even though it was started in the Czech Republic, and a lot of them were calling
suck
it
Australia.
All right.
DayZs are pretty little flowers, not zombie games where you kill people.
Ooh, that is a pretty solid argument, actually.
As an American, I would have preferred it to be DayZ, honestly. It just sounds better.
Wow, really? Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
But
So you got
apparently
off
it is
track
supposed to be
with
DayZ.
But yeah, Harry Edwards. So if he had a Patreon page, maybe I should see if he does. I ought to look for that. But if he had a Patreon page where he said for like $2 or $3 a month, you can get access to my songs before anyone else, et cetera, I would happily do that because I have thoroughly enjoyed listening to all of his stuff. Like he is really good and he deserves to have more followers. But realistically, he's probably years away from having enough followers to support himself on his music, unless he makes money outside of it that we don't know about, which is very possible. So I'm not diminishing his talent at all, but realistically, he is not currently making money off it as far as we know.
Well,
he is talent. He's very talented.
Oh yeah. Well, he has a Bandcamp where you can actually buy 2 of his complete albums he's made. A nice thematic album with a consistency throughout all the tracks and all. But once again, it's Bandcamp. People are paying like $1 for it. It's like a 12-track, like intense stalker style, music album, and it's really worth more than that.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Patreon. Let us know. Leave comments on videos. Tweet at us.
How much money will you give us?
At Casual Shenanigan. No. I really do want the honest truth, though.
If you give Dave $500, I'll release a clip of Norman. There you go, Dave. Check
So-
in the mail already.
Frenchie Libre is making threats in chat here. Yeah, he's making threats. You better not follow through on those. That's all I'm saying. I built your computer. I can unbuild it.
Anyone with a hammer can unbuild it.
Frenchie is riding high on his new build with a 4670K and a 780 Ti. It is crushing DayZ, in case anyone's curious. Sparkling, fresh 60 FPS at 1440p.
You mean it's crushing DayZ?
No, I'm an American. I don't have to change. That's how this works. I'm going to keep saying DayZ.
You with your imperial system.
I'm just using the American defense for anything, because that's all you need.
Yeah,
Oh.
Jeremiah, can we have the graphics card temperature in freedom units, please?
All right, so let's move on to the main topic portion of the podcast. We've only been going for an hour, so it's about time to segue into the reason we've called you all together. That is to talk to these two guys from the Dark Souls 2. Now, in case you don't know, they do know how to write things. It's not the Dark Souls 2 like the name of the game. It's the Dark Souls 2 like the two people talking about the game. So if you only listen to the audio version, you wouldn't necessarily know that.
I thought it up, buddy. How original
Good job,
I am.
Church. Good job. Okay, so why don't, for people who have never listened to your podcast, why don't you give us the 1 to 30-minute synopsis on what is the Dark Souls 2?
Okay. Do you remember back in the day there were games like Contra 2 and it was just soul-crushingly difficult? And if
Yes.
you die, you die. That's
Yes.
kind of the idea, I think, of the Souls series, is that video games used to be really hard, but now all the popular games like Halo, you die and you go back 30 seconds, you get another crack at it. Dark Souls is a game that's supposed to be really difficult and therefore really rewarding. So we're talking about a kind of high fantasy medieval type game. And the underlying principle of it is that you will die many, many, many times and it will be increasingly frustrating.
Right, but I think to address the actual question, the thing with the game is not only the enjoyment you get from overcoming these hurdles, it's incredibly lore-rich, and that's something that's really hidden and taken away from the gamer. It's not a game that you just pick up and have it all laid out for you, and so we, as a podcast, are trying to open that up to the not the more casual gamer, because even if you're deeply into Dark Souls, you can miss a lot. Like it's a very feature-packed game, but if you don't have an eye for that sort of lore, you're going to miss it.
And in fact, when I first started playing the first Dark Souls game, I played it for about an hour and a half, and then I thought, there's no storyline in this game. This is boring, and I turned it off. And it wasn't until Taboo came along and said, God, I love the story in that game. I was like, what's story? What are you on? But actually, it just makes you work for it. It makes you work for everything. If you want to stay alive and have fun, you've got to work real hard, which isn't fun. And if you want to know what the hell's going on in the game, you've got to work really hard to work it out, which I think is awesome. So yeah, Dark Souls.
So what do you guys talk about on the podcast, though? Is it talking about the lore of the game? Do you talk about how hard it is? Do you just sit in a circle and cry and look at screenshots?
There's a bit of that.
Yeah, it's a bit of everything. I mean, we go through area by area and we talk about what you might miss, because there's a lot of hidden, areas and items. And we also talk about the implications of things, and a lot of it is speculation, because as we said, it's not given to you. You've got to kind of work it out yourself. So there's a community of people out there who are interpreting these different things and trying to work out what they mean. And that kind of tells you the depths of people's attachment to the game. I mean, there's a really deep story in Halo, and there was a community around working that story out. It just wasn't nearly as big or as involved, and I think that's because the storyline was spoon-fed to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so here, I think this is what Joel wants me to say, is full disclosure, I don't enjoy Dark Souls.
And that's fine.
No, it's not.
Well, no. Well, I think Joel wants you to convince me to play it, and I think this will serve as a good framework for the discussion here. Joel, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I mean, okay, I found these guys' podcasts because I would call myself a very new person to Dark Souls because I hated it too. I had actually purchased Demon Souls on PS3 like several years back. I got into it. I got about an hour into it, and I didn't get to the next bonfire. I thought it would maybe have a quick save somewhere or something like that. I died, and then I realized I was back at the start, and I'm like, wait a second. Wait, what? Wait, what? Oh, I seriously get, like, it's because the game doesn't point out saying, hey, you have to get to this area. Like, you haven't lost your progress. It's just that you have to get to these different areas to actually keep progressing. So I had no idea what to expect. So I was like, screw, I am not playing another hour and a half. It's like I bought Fallout New Vegas and I was like 15 hours in. My game save corrupts. And I was like, oh, I can't just immediately jump right back in and go, I want to play 15 hours to get back where I was. So I didn't play it for almost like 8 months, and then I started over again just because it was such a crushing blow. Yep. But that's how it felt for me in Demon Souls, because it was like the controls were great, the game looked awesome. I was like, screw that. So I took it out. Then I got Dark Souls 1. I was like, oh, maybe it'll be better. Died the first boss. Like, what the F? Confused. Took it back. And it wasn't until a friend of mine at work was like, he was really into it. I was like, what are you, like, he said it's his favorite game ever. And I was like, well, you got to be joking. So he's like, all right. He's like, I'll play with you, because I didn't know you could summon people or there was a co-op part to it or any of that. And so once I figured that out, and he got me past the first initial boss, and I had a better weapon, and I was like, oh, I could level up or I could get a new armor. I was like, oh, this is fun. I feel more capable. And then just understanding that the enemies that crush you, it almost became laughable, where it was like, oh, I can't wait to find the next enemy to see how bad it can beat me into the ground. So that became more fun, rather than just going, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die and lose everything. It was like, all right, bring it on. What kind of crazy death I'm gonna happen around this next corner?
Yeah. And the underlying storyline of the game is about a curse that afflicts humanity, and the curse is just that you come back from the dead, and that's 100% of what the curse is. That you cannot die, you keep returning from the dead. And the storyline says that the trauma of repeatedly dying damages your brain to the point that you become insane, and those are the enemies that you're fighting in the game. They've all become derelict of their senses, and they crave your souls, which are like the currency within the game, because that kind of returns them to their more human state. It kind of eases their mind.
So at one point, the skeletons were very nice, friendly skeletons.
They were, yeah. So traumatized by me hitting him with the mace. And the interesting thing about it that you really realize, I think, as you play, is that what they're talking about isn't necessarily the experience of the character. They're talking about the experience of the player, right? You are going to die many, many times. It's going to be incredibly frustrating. You are going to go more and more insane as you play the game. It's a really interesting little allegory. Yeah. They even say in the beginning, of the second game, kind of the implication is you once had a family before this curse afflicted you, but now you've forgotten what they even look like, right? Because all you're doing is this. I think it's really interesting.
Yeah, and so I wanted to get you guys on here because from playing it, I've never played a game where I've gone completely from absolute hatred. I think actually maybe golf. That golf is a little bit like Dark Souls, where you can have such a really good experience, but as soon as like you have a random off moment, you can't hit anything, like you could just hate it so bad. So I went from complete hatred to it's one of my best, like my favorite games of all time now. Like,
we know,
I have all three games, and I'm like so happy. I haven't played Demon Souls yet, so I'm just finishing Dark Souls 1 and 2 right now. I'm just playing through at the same time. Oh my gosh, it's just so much good. So I want Skinner to be able to get past that really hard part, so he can go, oh, I see what you mean.
Okay, well here, let me explain why I don't enjoy Dark Souls.
Yeah, please do.
First caveat, I do enjoy difficult games. One of my favorite games the past couple of years is FTL. If you've never played FTL, that is a soul-crushingly hard game because it's so light and cutesy with the sounds and everything, and you're in a spaceship, and yay, and then you can be going along great. You've got a bunch of weapons, you're fighting your way through, and you show up and you make one FTL jump, you show up in an asteroid field, everyone's shooting at you with lasers, asteroids hit your ship, and in 10 seconds you're dead, and just there's no explanation, there's no like, and the thing is, you couldn't have done better. It's really the game just saying, screw you.
Yep.
Start over, and you lose everything and have to start over. But I love FTL. I love Ninja Gaiden, which is a game with quick saves and stuff, but it is renowned for being brutally hard in sections. The earlier God of War games on the higher difficulties were extremely hard. Like I've enjoyed all of those games a ton. I've played about an hour and a half of Dark Souls, and what I am not enjoying about it is not so much the strength of the individual enemies. I can deal with that. What I'm not enjoying is it just doesn't make sense. Like, right. I don't understand feedback. I'm not getting feedback when I try to attack people. Like, if they're able to kill me and I can't block, I don't understand why. And I don't need the game giving me a tutorial pop up. But at least, and I'm saying at this point in the game, I'm very willing to accept that later, like, I just haven't figured it out. I understand that. Oh, yeah. But it feels like I'm not getting feedback when I do something wrong, I don't understand why was it wrong, or was I just unlucky, or is it supposed to do that? Or it just feels like I spend a lot of my time not understanding if I suck or the game sucks or if this section sucks.
The reason the game talks to a lot of people is for that exact reason. In so many games, take Skyrim, for example, you level up, you hit a point, and if you put your skill points into the right area, your character is just so overpowered that nothing can do wrong. You know, like you're just going to crush everything that you come across, and the game loses all enjoyment because there's no challenge. With Dark Souls, it doesn't matter what level you are nearly as much as how much you level up as a player. So it's got this focus on you overcoming the hurdles and you learning how to play the game and bettering yourself. And you're at the point where you're a level 1 entering this big scary world in real life and you're suffering and there's nothing there to sort of help you. It is a game that benefits from having someone that knows the game a little better sitting next to you and just feeding you little tips just to get you over those first few hurdles. And then once you overcome that first big hurdle that just seemed impossible to begin with, you have this sense of elation and accomplishment. And you're like, holy crap, I did that. Yeah. Give me the next challenge.
And the game itself actually tells you that. And you have to really pay attention to it because it's often talking about the player and referencing the character. And they say a lot of people have this drive that the character has within the game universe to try to fix this curse. They come to this place to try to work out what the curse is and how to reverse it for humanity. And what they say to you, the NPCs will say, most of the people that come through here die so many times that they give up, that they become despondent and essentially become useless people within the NPC world, and they're on their way to becoming hollows or people that just crave souls and are evil. And they're talking about you. They're saying this is so frustratingly difficult that most people in your boat are going to fail because they're going to give up, right? And it's kind of like it's challenging you. It's saying, you know, are you so weak? And I'm not having a go.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
This is going to crush your soul. And I love that. I love that it's because there have been times actually that I've thought, forget this. This is ridiculous, right? I'm so frustrated by this game. And then I think, well, hang on a minute. This is what the NPCs have been telling me is going to happen. They warned me this would happen to me, and now it's happening to me. And I'm just not gonna play that game. I'm gonna fight through it. I really like that.
To get you up to speed of where Jeremiah is, he's in the Undead Parish, so he hasn't even gotten to that first armor where I think Dave has gotten that past that part, and I think it was for me. It wasn't until I beat the first real boss, which is like the near the castle. I won't tell you what it is, but yeah, no, not that one. That's the very first boss, but the second one, the first bell,
demon.
The first bell. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
the bell gargoyles.
Yeah, the first bell. Once I beat that, I was like, okay, this is cool because the game opens up a little bit more, and I think Dark Souls 2 is going to be a much better intro for you as a game because it just helps you a little bit go. What do you kind of expect in a game like this where Dark Souls 1, I really had no idea where to go at all, but I had my friend who's kind of show me a little bit. He didn't spoil anything for me, so he would just wait. He's like, no, go ahead. I was like, go through a door. Holy crap, what the heck is this? But also, have you been using your shield, Skinner?
Yes.
Okay.
I know how to use a shield in a game,
I'm just
Joel.
saying, because I was playing with James, and he didn't even know about the shield for a while. He didn't know the button.
Yes.
So he's like, this is so hard.
I've been using the shield.
Yeah.
If you've ever played Ninja Gaiden, you don't get 10 seconds into that game without learning how to block. So I've got the blocking thing. I understand that.
And also an awesome game. The other thing as well about your own personal development is what Joel was talking about with the fact that you kind of go back to some, when you die, you don't stay in the same area. You're going to go back pretty far sometimes, depending on where the bonfire that you've rested at is. What that teaches you is that there's a routine to every area. There's a way to get past it. And it's you that learns that, not the character. And so it's really frustrating at first until you realize, like, hang on a minute, I don't even need to hold my shield up. I just walk around this guy and he's too slow and I just stab him in the back. And until you unlock those little secrets that are in every single area, it's so soul-crushingly difficult.
Yeah, you work for everything you get, but once you get it, like, that's the beauty of the game. It really shows you how far you've come. Like, that, they really focus on that to the point where some of the first bosses that just absolutely obliterated you in the first part of the game, you'll come across like 4 of them in a pack later on in the game. You'll be like, swing, swing, swing. Well, that was easy. And it's just the game's way of saying, this guy messed you up like 60 hours ago. Look at how far you've come now. And not only that, but it goes through playthroughs. Like if you do stick with the game through the first playthrough, God knows you're going to play it again and again and again. And on my first playthrough, when you get to that final boss and you finally finish it, you're like, holy crap, I have come so far. And then you play 3 more games with 3 new characters and you're like, I knew nothing back on my first character. I've learned so much. And then you play on your 8th character and you look back at your 3rd character and you go, I knew nothing back then. And, you know, it just goes on and on.
It kind of feels a little bit like DayZ to me at some parts where there's these bonfires basically you rest at and you can kind of like, each one you unlock is always just awesome. You just feel so successful for finding one. But you get to a point where you're going, okay, crap, I've gone really far away from that one. It feels like DayZ where it's like you put a flare over there and now you're in the darkness going, okay, crap, how far should I go? Because I have a lot to lose right now. And if I die, I'm really far away and I got to redo this whole thing. So it just starts becoming really intense. But if you can stick through a little bit more and get past this part, it just, all of a sudden you go, oh, I get the attacks. Because James is the exact same way. He this is so freaking retarded. But then he's like, oh, okay, now I know how to use the attacks. I know how to do the strong attack, the light attack. You got to like someone told me a tip of just trying to like swerve around people on the shields and it just like which hand they're using the shield with and stuff. So I think you guys were talking about that in your other podcast, the latest one.
Yeah, it's a boxing principle that you move away from the opponent's power hand, and that's what you do in the game. The guy's got a sword and a shield. And it actually works. Like a lot of games, the enemies have like a lock on, and they don't have actual foot movements. The hitbox rotates at whatever speed you rotate. But in this game, the shield is here and the sword is here. And if you move towards the shield, then I can't reach you with the sword. It's really realistic that way. And learning little innovations like that is how you become comfortable with the game. Yeah.
So it does sound like all of you who have gotten into it have done so because someone was helping you through that first little bit. So that maybe is my problem, is I've received a lot of promises from Joel that he'll be summoned into my world, but that hasn't actually materialized yet.
I've tried, but there's so many things you can't do about try. It just sometimes doesn't work. So with the summoning, like it's hard to.
Maybe I should just have Frenchie Libre come over since he actually lives near me. And he can walk me through it because he is a big Dark Souls fan as well. So that seems maybe that's my issue.
You could always stream it. That's what I did with Dave to get him past.
The problem with the stream though is there's 20 seconds behind it. I don't want to stand there for 20 seconds. I tried that before.
Dave was only 10 seconds behind, but I kind of know where you're at. So and what you're about to go on to. So
except for that one time, Joel, where I'm like, I'm at this intersection, right? In the undead, not the parish, the undead suburbs or whatever.
The undead suburbs.
The undead city. And I'm looking at 2 staircases. I'm like, Joel, do I take the stairs down? He's like, yeah, take the stairs down. I'm like, hey, there's a pretty big guy down here. And Joel's like, oh, just use your shield. And this guy filled the entire hallway. And when he turned around and came at me, I'm like, Joel, are you lying to me, Joel? I ran out into this balcony. I couldn't run back. The guy filled the entire hallway. And in one swing, he killed me off of the map. Joel was dying laughing. I was just dying. I was like, you led me astray, Joel. I trusted you. So don't count on the streaming to save you.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I don't.
Person does that same thing.
Yeah.
That doesn't make me very confident.
Actually, Joel, I've got a story for you here. Joel has actually converted me. He joined my game right at the beginning and kind of walked me through those beginning sections. And I think personally, the actual hardest boss of the game is getting the first install on PC working correctly. That's the hardest boss. I was so ready to ditch the game. I spent an hour and a half ready to play the game before it would actually log into Windows Live. It was saving. The graphics were all working. It was awful. And then, of course, you guys know the game is very, very hard because, like you guys said, I love how you pointed that out, that you're not learning things necessarily with your character. It's you as a player are having to learn how the game operates. And just today was the first time out of our 5 play sessions I've actually played on my own. I ended up playing for 2 hours. I defeated that night guy. It took me 4 tries. I recorded it so I can show Joel later. I finally learned and practiced. I ranked up. I have armor I'm upgrading. And I'm finally starting to see through the smoke of the game, and it's starting to make sense. And oh man, once you cross that line, It's good. It's so good.
It's addictive.
Oh, they got you, Dave.
Yep.
They got you.
You do have to push to that point.
Yeah.
But to make comment on what you're saying earlier about the first boss being installing the game, I don't know if you or your listeners have heard about this, but if they haven't, it's a really cool thing. There's a website called PC Gaming Wiki, and they try to archive every game basically, and it's not just about the game, it's about how to configure the game and set up the game and overcome these crashes and this and that. And the write-up for the Dark Souls one, which I just flicked you guys a link, you can put it in your link dump if you got one at the end or whatever for your fans. It goes through a lot of those crashes and like, if you get X, do Y, and you're fine. So it'll help you overcome a lot of those initial hurdles.
This is how you've been fixing my computer all these years, isn't it?
Yeah.
I did know my experience got a little bit better when I was able to get it to play at 1080p and not locked at 30 FPS. That took away a lot of the initial, oh my gosh, I hate this.
Right.
At least being able to play the game like at a decent resolution. With anti-aliasing, what a new concept.
Yeah.
Something
Honestly,
console players are still not experiencing.
I've played some bad console ports over the year, but this is by far the worst PC game port
Worse than Grand Theft Auto 4?
Worse than GTA 4, by far.
I don't know if that's even possible.
When I got
Here's
to
the thing, though. GTA 4 performs the same on hardware from 2009 as it does from 2014 because they were like, who will ever need more than one core? Who will ever need memory optimizations? We don't need to build any of that in. So it doesn't matter how fast your computer is. It just won't run quickly. That's my main gripe. Exactly. It just runs crummy. And then, Games for Windows Live coupled with Rockstar's Social Club is like the dream team. I have bought the game 3 times on various platforms because they kept shutting down. And I am proud to say I downloaded Hacks. As soon as I went through it the first time, I downloaded Hacks just to get rid of Games for Windows Live and Rockstar Social Club. Because
there are a few things in my life worse than Games for Windows Live.
I just can't. I just can't right now.
So maybe wait till the 25th of April when Dark Souls 2 comes out on PC. There's been no mention of Games for Windows Live this time.
Well, Games for Windows Live is shutting down.
Oh, thank Christ.
I think my favorite
Fallout 3 on Steam now doesn't have Games for Windows Live anymore.
My favorite part of trying to get Dark Souls to work that horrible night was I couldn't get my Games for Windows Live account to actually stay logged in and actually autosave. After patching Games for Windows Live like 3 times, my password was just not working for the login. I hit the forgot your password button, and it took me to a 404 page on Xbox.com. I was like, Joel, I'm done. I'm out.
Yeah.
I almost called it quits right there. Oh, Microsoft, what are you thinking?
Dark Souls hit you hard, Dave.
I got to say, I'd forgotten that it was on Games for Windows Live, the first game. I'd repressed the memory. So thanks, guys.
Yeah, bringing it all back. But look.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you.
I was going to say where Dave is currently at, not really spoilers, but he's getting ready to get the what's the Asylum Demon, or there's one he jumps right at you immediately. That you get the key to open to go down to the depths, down where I think there's a creepy looking kitchen. I don't want to call who the person is down there, but the dogs and stuff. Yeah, there we go.
You just said he wasn't going to say it, and then you said it.
You're gonna have a lot of fun with that, Dave. But he's getting ready to go for that boss, and I think honestly that area and Blighttown was my favorite part.
You liked Blighttown?
I loved it. It
was Blighttown.
I loved it because for me it was like the coolest adventure ever. I was like, I'm really in a really freaky place. I'm all alone. How the crap am I going to get through it? And I don't know. The sound effects are awesome, and I was like, this is for real. Like, I'm going to die.
This game is depressing. Like Dark Souls 2 has become a lot brighter as a game, but Dark Souls 1 is a soul-crushingly depressing game. The environments are drab and dank, but nothing compares to Dark Souls. Nothing compares to the area you just said, Blighttown.
I've never been there. I don't know about it. But I hear it. I hear it's not fun.
Does the frame rate still
down to Blighttown? Have you heard of that?
What's that?
The what?
There's a song on YouTube called I Don't Want to Go Down to Blighttown. It's actually really clever. And my favorite line from the whole song is, I paid good money to feel this way. And I think that's that encompasses the entire experience.
That's great.
I'm just excited for Dave to experience that part.
That's another issue with Dark Souls. If I'm being realistic, I'm not the gamer I was when I was in college. Now I have so many other priorities and things. It's hard for me to want to play a purposefully crushing video game over and over and over again.
Sure.
When there are dozens of video games I still haven't played, and I've got DayZ to play with my friends and the podcast and just hanging out and stuff, and it's hard to do all that while I'm yelling and screaming at the computer.
Sure.
And it's hard to get psyched up to go through Dark Souls when, like, I know I'm not going to enjoy most of this.
Well, here's the thing is that's exactly how I felt though. But once I got to a certain area, it didn't become. It's not just soul crushing. Oh my gosh, it's so hard. It's an awesome hard. It's not like there's only really been a few times that I've ever been like, holy crap, I want to just throw my controller across the room. But that's only happened actually once in Dark Souls 2. That's it. Dark Souls 1
only once.
I haven't gotten to a part where I'm like, I hate this. It's just been, okay, that was hilarious. The guy chucked me off the cliff as soon as I entered the room to kill him. Like I don't know. It's an awesome challenge, and it really has ruined so many other games for me now.
Yeah, it has to be said. Like everyone harps on about its difficulty. It's hard but fair. Like every time you die, you can look back and go, I know what I did wrong, and I know how to have not done that next time. You don't rage at the game. It is a fair game. So even when you're suffering big, you sort of look back on it and go, yeah, I fucked up, not the game.
And Jeremiah, earlier you said, I find it hard to play a game that's deliberately hard when I have a podcast and I have work and I have other games to play. In a month, someone's going to say, lay down on the couch, Jeremiah, and tell me what's wrong. And you're going to say, I find it hard to not play an incredibly difficult game when I've got work and I've got other games to play.
Here's another issue is I work from home on my computer for my job.
Suicide.
And Steam is just right there. So it's not like I'm looking for what's my new form of crack. You know, it's like the first week I owned FTL, I was like, I don't care about anything else. This is amazing. You know, it happens every once in a while with a game where all I'm thinking about is I would like to go home and play that now.
Yep.
And DayZ has been that a lot of the time, and the way you guys talk about Dark Souls, it almost scares me a little bit. Like, I've got stuff I have to get done.
Yep. But look, that said, it's not for everyone. I'm not going to mess you around here. Like, there's some people that just won't get it and won't get into it. And that's fine. Like, it isn't for everyone. But for those that push through that initial difficulty will just benefit greatly.
You've got the fortitude.
Yeah, it's a testament to your own self, basically. Like, if you overcome it, you will be thankful.
Jeremiah,
so if you don't get through it, we'll know you don't have the fortitude. just to be clear.
What they were just saying about as you return later, you'll see the mistakes you made. That gigantic knight that I defeated today, just to get to him today, I had to fight through about 4 minutes of enemies that before would just massacre me. And now it was like, I'm just thinking about my battle plan for the enemy I'm working my way towards as I just mow through all these guys that before I couldn't move 10 feet without dying. You see all the mistakes you used to make.
And you might not have even leveled your character up at that point. Like, this game is, there's a heap of people on YouTube doing soul level 1 runs of the game, like completing the game without leveling up once. It is a game where once
probably because they can't figure out the stupid menu to level your character up. Get an interface designer. That's all I'm saying.
Well, you don't like the 480p console UI?
Sorry, keep going.
We were talking before about how you get to a point where you think, I've got so many resources right now, I should go back and use them or save them or something because I'm going to die any second. Regularly, I get to that point and I think, there might be another bonfire right around the corner, but I'm going back to the previous one because I don't know what's going to happen. And I turn around and promptly walk off a cliff straight away. That's what frustrates me. Holy crap.
Yep.
I've never done that before.
I'm just clumsy.
The lava boss, or I forget the exact name of it, in Dark Souls 2.
Dark Souls
in
2,
Dark Souls 2, I think I forget what it's called. Old Iron King, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
I had two.
You made it far.
I'm past that, and I am getting ready to head towards the end castle, I think, or something like that. I don't know. It's the end. That's where I'm heading. Yeah, but I.
Bye, Joel.
Had 2 FPGs left, and so
Joel, you froze for a second. You're gonna need to start that over.
Okay. So I had 2 effigies left, and I'm like, I want to spawn a couple people to help me with this. I spawned 3 guys in. They looked pretty badass. I was like, sweet. They got like these double-bladed axes or whatever. I'm like, sweet, I'm ready. I go in. As soon as I go in, the thing like stomps. I roll to the right directly into this little puddle of lava. Like, are you kidding me? I was so flipping angry.
Yeah.
And then I go, okay, I'm gonna do it again. I go back there.
I'm gonna do it again.
And that,
Into
that
the
boss,
lava.
I know. No, not into lava.
I just rolled off a cliff. I'm gonna do it again.
I'll teach the cliff.
And this boss is hard. I think it's the hardest boss to get to because you're not really close to a bonfire. So I make my way well I get it. So last effigy, I'm like, come on, please, I gotta kill this thing. I completely forgot what I did. I rolled right into it again.
Well, that's like I started playing Dark Souls 2 at your house, and there was that one little walkway, maybe 5 minutes into the game, where I ran across too quickly and ran off the edge. And the next time I did the same exact thing. And this is, I can't stress how early on in the game this is. Like, this is definitely the point where you shouldn't be accidentally running off things. Oh.
But Joel, you said that the Old Iron King has one of the hardest run-ups to get to. You're going to hate me when I tell you there's a boss, a bonfire, like 10 meters from that door with no enemies between it.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Nope.
Ah!
So let's talk quickly about effigies and summoning, because I think the PvP aspect of this game is just spectacular. So we talked about how dying makes you go a bit crazy and you become what's called a hollow. So you've got two states. You can be a hollow, which is how you mostly play the game, or you can be a human. Your skin looks less undead and you get a couple of little perks, like a full health bar for one, and you can summon other people into your world. The way you become a human is to consume a human effigy, and I think that's really significant because the concept in the game, lore-wise, is that you become less and less human by going more and more insane. And in the beginning of the game, you look at a human effigy and an NPC says to you, who does that look like? That's right, it looks like you. And so I think there's something really cool going on there. You've become less and less human due to this psychological trauma. And then you look at how you used to be or what you're supposed to look like, and it reminds you of what it is to be a human. And that's how you regain your human state.
Your sanity.
Yeah, your sanity, essentially. I think that's really cool. They don't spoon feed that to you. They just imply it by the name of the item, which I think is quite cool. When you're a human, you can do a couple of cool things. You can summon other people into your world to help you. So if you're traveling around, you've got an item, you use the item to make a mark on the ground. Someone else playing somewhere else in the world is walking around and sees that sign on the ground and can use it to summon you, and then you aid them. And that's really, other than the same thing but for combat between players, that's the extent of the multiplayer. You can leave messages on the ground that say there's a hidden wall here or beware of the boss or whatever, and you can look at other people's bloodstains which show you how they died, which is a good little hint. If you're walking along, there's a bunch of bloodstains on the ground, you activate one of them and you see someone getting stomped to death and you think, okay, well, I know what's going on here. But that is really the extent of the PvP. It's not constant PvP. It's totally optional. You can play the game unplugged from the internet just fine.
You'll miss a lot.
You will miss a lot, but the point is that the PvP is really innovative. Like, I can't think of another game that has that unique kind of interaction between players. And they explain it in the lore by saying that the flow of time is convoluted and that those other people in other dimensions, in other worlds, are kind of like yourself, but in another time, which I think is really interesting.
Dave had a great experience because he was just about to get to a bonfire
can I tell this
at the
story?
very start of the game. You tell Dave.
This is my first experience with another player besides Joel, and this is the in-game moment that caused me to quit for a few days and then come back to it later. Joel had just helped me beat, which boss was it, Joel? It was pretty early.
It was the gargoyle, the church. I think no.
It was way before that.
Oh, it was the very first one. So he
very
was
first
just going
one.
to the Undead Parish area. He was right below the giant bridge where the dragon's standing there.
It was the one on top of the wall just before that we had just.
He's gonna kick the ladder down to get back to the bonfire.
Taurus demon.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love playing Dark Souls with Joel because I can always tell when it's about to get good because he starts getting giggly. He'd be like, hey, just go first. I'm like, Joel, stop giggling. I know it's about to go down. Just defeated that boss, and then Joel, as the Spectre, I guess, has been removed from the game world, and now I'm like 2 minutes out from a bonfire. I'm not streaming at the time, so Joel's trying to like lead me to how to get past this bridge to get to the bonfire, and I have like 4,000 souls at the time, like the most I've ever seen in the entire game. I'm super excited. I'm gonna level up. And Joel's like, okay, just go through this one door. I'm like, well, I can't. Like, it's like white or something. And I'm like, what does invaded mean? And Joel goes, oh no. So I just hide. I hide under the bridge. I'm like, Joel, what's happening right now? He's explaining, a player.
Dave's out.
I'm freaking out. I can't escape. So I'm hiding in a corner. I'm like, Joel's explaining what being invaded means, which means, right, a player has come into your world to do horrible
Just to
things.
mess up your day.
Yes. The great part for me is this is my first invasion. I'm hiding in the corner of the storage room under the bridge with the dragon, just cowering, waiting for it to be over. And the guy walks in the door. He's wearing this dragon armor. He's glowing. He has a sword like out of an anime or something, just massive burning sword. And he just stares at me. And I'm just crouched in the corner staring back. I'm like, Joel, he's not doing anything. What is going on here? So he very slowly walks into the room. And I'm like kind of circling him. And he's just looking at me. I'm like, Joel, he's not doing anything. So I pull out my level 1 short sword. And I start, I'm like, 2 damage, 3 damage. And he just staring at me. I'm like, Joel, I don't get it. He's not attacking me. Then he swings once and I fall over dead. And he just stares at my body.
Well, here's the question. Can you combat log? Could you have combat logged out of that?
No,
you can't? Okay.
No,
So-
you can pull the LAN cable and that's it.
Yeah. He basically just
So you can combat log.
But you also lose stuff. Right?
Oh, okay.
he stood there
But-
long enough to let me know that there was nothing I could do to avoid what was about to happen.
Tell me, like, aside from maybe one of the most intense encounters you've had in DayZ, was that not the biggest adrenaline rush you've had in gaming in recent years? Like,
That
I remember the first
just
time I was
crazy.
invaded, I had to turn off the game, log out, and sit for about 10 minutes with my hand shaking. Like, I was a mess. It was just so exciting.
what got me too is before he found the room that I was in, I could hear him walking around. And I'm just in the corner. I'm like, Joel, I hear footsteps. Joel, they're getting closer. And Joel just stays up and laughs. He's like,
Joel,
I can't help you. I can't help you. I was like, how do I call you back?
I want to remember that I just said something like bend over and just take it, Dave.
You did. you like assumed the position.
Well, it's only happened a few times to me as well. It happened in Dark Souls 2. I just got to a really hard area, and then I get invaded. I was like, come on. Well, the guy didn't see me, so I hid above on this little rock, and I was just waiting. I was like, please, I hope he does. I was like, I couldn't remember if you could see through things, or if they could see your username or something like that. Well, so he's strolling down. He's like, didn't know where I was. I like jumped down to attack. I'm like, yeah, I miss, hit the down, die.
You can't fire me. I quit.
I love it. That's awesome. Yeah, it is just so, like, that's an extra element of the game that makes it so hard, you know? Like, it's just like some guy comes along and he knows that you're going to have a fight. He's been planning it. He's been putting points into the right skills. He's been collecting the right weapons. He's got the spells that shoot really quickly. And he rocks up and you're totally unprepared.
Yeah, you've
And
got
you have
PvE armor on. You just
exactly.
haven't even thought about encountering another proper player at this point.
The other thing is that when he appears, the mobs in the game don't disappear. So it was already hard enough that you're worried about dying, and that's still going on, and there's a player out there trying to get you as well. Interestingly, there's an item in Dark Souls 2 that you can use when you get invaded that turns the mobs against the invader, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah.
I like that. It's cool.
And
So,
there's an
yeah,
item that
they-
can turn you into a piece of the environment. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you
Look,
could like turn into a barrel or something.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Chameleon, but that's the other huge aspect of the game. Like, it's got a enormous single player playthrough. Like Dark Souls 1, easily at least 60 to 80 hours for a single player first playthrough. But then there's this PvP side of the game where it's this minor thing, but it has just such an enormous amount of variability and replayability, and try this and do that, and this item does this in PvP, and give it a shot with this, or use the chameleon and hide as a barrel when somebody invades you and see how long it takes for them to find you. And yeah, I mean, there's just so many layers to the game. You can play 10 characters and never get bored of it. And I never play a game twice.
Poor Jeremiah looks so bored.
Sorry, no, I'm doing hand signals to someone off camera.
Oh, I see.
His
Are they
mom.
offering you food?
I think he wants to play basketball.
Go for the 3-pointer.
My wife was just being respectful and not like kicking open the door and going, "Hey, what's going on in here?"
And you know, now you guys are actually in a real dwelling, and you're not all crammed together during the podcast.
That's right.
right?
I can't just lean my head back and go, "Oh, is she in here?" No. Okay.
So on that note, look, Joel did
Yes.
say that the reason he wants us to come on the podcast was to try and convince you to play the game. And
Yes.
I don't think I'm going to do that, because here's the thing. You have a wife, right?
Yes.
And you enjoy PC gaming, right?
Yes.
Don't play this game. You
Yes, I don't know where this is going.
like nowhere back.
one.
Do you have a family? Where do they live? Where do they live?
children.
This game has done something to you guys,
it
man.
consumes you, and it ruins games to a point where, like, I've played Skyrim, and everyone knows how incredibly good the reviews for Skyrim are and how much people like it. I play the game and I enjoy it, and then I play Dark Souls and I go back to Skyrim and I install 300 mods and I spend 4 days trying to make it more like Dark Souls and have better this and better that, and then I play it for half an hour. I'm like, I could just be playing Dark Souls right now. I'm not getting anything from this. Like, it ruins games for you.
If
I
Skyrim
will
had
say-
Dark Souls
since.
combat, that would be amazing.
Oh yeah,
You've You've
and I've done what I
me
can
to
to
try
mod
it.
Skyrim so that it does.
You've convinced me to try it if someone is here sitting next to me, not on a stream, but sitting next to me, explaining to me how to at least get a good foothold in the game. I will more than happy start it, because it sounds like that's a very consistent experience that everyone's had to do.
For $1,000 on your Patreon page, you can fly us over to Jared's house.
That's true. Yeah, if you want to make the Dark Souls dream happen for me, please, guys, it's all I've ever wanted.
International Dream Team.
Well, Jerem, I told you.
Yeah, we'll fly in our Australian specialist.
If
We'll
you
put some shrimp on the barbie and have them over.
There it is.
if you can send me a screenshot just of where you are, then I can tell you what to do, basically.
That doesn't tell me how to play the game.
No,
Joel.
I mean, Dave did a really good job, but I started exactly from the start with him with a new character, just so I was walking where he was going. So he had a question, I could tell him where he was going. So that was
I
not
want
very
someone sitting
hard.
next to me. I think I'm gonna take Frenchie up on his offer to hold my hand,
Do that.
creepy
Yeah.
smiley
You don't
face.
even need to do that, right? Here's the only tip you need. Roll lots, don't
Okay.
die. You'll be right.
Roll lots, don't die. All right,
Well,
that
don't roll
is
off
like Ninja
cliffs.
Gaiden.
Don't roll off.
For Ninja Gaiden, your strategy is block, 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 roll, 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 block, 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 one combo, block, 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 block. Like that's the entire game. So I can roll and block.
The Witcher 2's combat at launch before the rebalancing patch, all you could do was roll, 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 strike. It was so much rolling.
Well, I beat The Witcher 2 before they did the enhanced edition, before it ever got
Me
any
too.
patches, and that was a really hard game, and I did enjoy it, but I think it held your hand enough at the beginning that you could get a foothold into the
Right.
world. So if I didn't know what I was doing, I at least felt like, okay, well, I can just go talk to people in the town, go see what's up. You know, there's these areas I know if I go to them, I'll be killed within 10 seconds, but I've got places I can go to and talk to people and hopefully figure it all out. So I felt like it was more accessible, and from what Joel says, Dark Souls 2 is
Yeah.
a bit like that.
Yeah, it does help get into the game. Like, there was a bit of outrage when they came out a year ago when they first started discussing Dark Souls 2, and one of the designers said it's going to be more accessible or approachable. And everyone's like, what? You're taking our difficulty away from us? No, you can't do that. But all they meant is, like, they're not going to make it as nebulous to begin with. They're going to sort of allow you to ease yourself into the game. It's still hard, and in some parts harder. But yeah, it certainly helps you learn the basics.
Just on The Witcher 2, right? I played that game after the enhanced edition had come out. Wonderful game. I really liked it. It had all these cool pop culture references that I really thought were awesome. And then I got up to the final bit. All the kings are like coming together to have some kind of conference or whatever.
Spoilers for The Witcher 2 if you haven't played it.
Oh, my apologies.
Sorry,
So
go ahead.
something
No, it's okay. It's okay. I just figured we should just
not
throw it
major
out just in
spoilers.
case.
Yes.
It's not major spoilers.
So
but
at the
yeah,
end,
just to
I
be
was
safe.
in a place where an important thing was going to happen. I think an NPC disappeared or something because I couldn't progress. Just ran around for a while and never played it again. And I'm the kind of person who, like, if I'm 2 pages into a book and I think, oh, this book's junk, I'm then compelled to spend the next week reading the damned book because I have to finish it. So every time I hear The Witcher 2, I'm like, oh, for God's sake, you know?
If it makes you feel any better, you were close to the end, and the end's not all that awesome.
It does make me feel better.
I say that as someone. The Witcher 1 was my Dark Souls as far as being
yeah.
obsessed with the game. I love The Witcher 1. The Witcher 2, I think it kind of fell apart in the third act. We'll see what they do with The Witcher 3.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
The sound, if you made a weird face at the weird noise, that was probably Joel leaving his phone on the desk next to his stupid unibody MacBook with the super sensitive microphone or whatever else he was doing. So
It's always
Wonderful.
different.
So as we wind the podcast down, this is going to be one of our longer ones. I thought
Sorry.
since we have the opportunity, no, this is good. This is
stuff,
good.
for sure.
We have 2 live Australians on the panel with us. So this is a good time to
Here we
have
go.
the whole Australia versus America discussion. Not versus like we're competing, because we know if it came down to a war, sorry guys, we spend more on war than like every other country in the world.
You
put
also
together.
spend more on war than Afghanistan, and how'd that go for you?
Oh, no, I'm not defending it. I'm just saying when it comes to stomping holes in people's faces, if we're not being political about it, America is by far the best. So it's not a versus
We give it a
discussion.
strange priority.
Yeah. We try to be nice about it, but when it's time to really kick people, we really kick them.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. And this is the beginning of the debate, isn't it? You lost Korea, you lost Vietnam, you lost Afghanistan.
Play nice.
Wait. No, hold on. Lost is a North Korea and Vietnam. I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'm sorry. I'm talking about the modern American military machine. I should have clarified that.
It's a force
I mean,
we
we definitely.
I'm scared of it, make no mistake.
A lot of Americans
We're
seem to
scared of
think
it
like
too.
we won World War II by ourselves, and a lot of crazy things that are in no way true. But no, I was referring to the modern American military machine. The thing with let's ignore Afghanistan and Iraq because I could spend a long time talking about the political dumbness of all that. I just meant in general, give an example of someone does something over here America doesn't like, and America doesn't have to be political about it. If there's one thing we're good at, it's like, let's just send over an aircraft carrier with 100 jets.
Drop a
and
bomb.
if you don't stop, we don't even have to send the jets. We have drones.
What's the saying? When you have a hammer, every problem looks like a nail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
That's
That's
America.
awesome.
That's America. Now here's my first question to you Australians. Given Australia's history, are you both descended from criminals?
Possibly. Although my family did this stupid, people get really funny about their ancestors. I couldn't give a damn. I never met the people. But apparently
Right.
one of my ancestors was a prison guard on one of those convict boats. And when I heard that, I was kind of like, what? Why can't my ancestor be one of the convicts?
Nope.
Instead of
You
the
come
one
from
jerk
bacon.
that beats you if you say the wrong thing. I hate it.
Well, maybe he was just defending the free civilization from all the dirty criminals. You gotta look on the
The
positive.
British Empire.
Yeah. But I mean, if you look at the crimes
yes.
those people got sent over here for, it was mostly petty theft. So
Oh, was it? Okay, I don't know much about it. I just
Yeah.
know you're all criminals.
yeah.
Yes, we don't know much about it either.
Yeah, but I mean, if you look at, we're actually pretty happy about that. Like, if only the people on those boats getting sent to this country had an idea what was going to happen, they'd be kind of like, we're going to the awesome beaches. You can have your shitty weather, and we'll be back in 50 years to beat you at sport. See you later.
Shots fired.
So, what was your favorite thing about Australia? Because I really, honestly, again, this is a whole America thing. I don't know a ton about Australia because mostly what you learn in history class is
Convicts.
this is how America relates to the rest of the world.
Reddit just mainly
And I'm
has
assuming-
upside down jokes about Australia.
Oh, yes.
Not
Right.
great
Yeah.
content.
And
We've
I'm
actually got
assuming you
magnetic
guys
people.
learn similar things about Australia. You learn more about how your country relates to the rest of the world and less about here's what some country you've never been to and don't care that much about. Here's how they relate to everybody. I mean, or am I wrong?
I think to a degree you are. I think because my partner is American as well, so I've heard a lot about the American education system, and I think actually we concentrate on the broad world far more than America does. America's quite America-centric, and that's kind of okay
Yes.
for your political structure. But here we kind of learn history in a kind of more broad sense. What do I like most about Australia? The geography, really. I mean, I like our strong economy, and I like the fact that we have reasonably high wages and all that kind of jazz. But within my state alone, and our states are much, much bigger than your states in America, but within my state alone, I've been inside a really dense forest. I've been to a desert. I've been on cliffs. I've been to massive flat plains. The geography of this
Caves.
place, yeah, caves. The geography here is just
Nice.
It's beyond a joke. Yeah.
And I like Tim Tams.
Yeah, Tim Tams are pretty good. Do you guys
What
don't
is
have Tim
that?
Tams, do you?
I don't know what
It's
Tim Tams
okay.
are.
Apparently, according to Betty, my partner, you do, but most of you don't know about it. When I went to America, I brought Tim Tams along. They're a little chocolate biscuit, and they have this amazing ability to act like a straw. And if you have anything similar, you must try it. Right? Actually,
I know. Okay, I know what those are.
Yeah.
We have generic versions I've had.
oh really? Actually, what we should do is commit to post them some Tim Tams.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, we'll send you some Tim Tams.
We'll send you a bunch of boxes so you can
Prizes! Yeah!
biting off the edges.
For $1,000, Dark Souls 2 will send us.
biting off the edges of those things and using them like a straw. That
Oh,
fills my heart with national pride.
That's awesome.
What do you guys
So
like
now
about
let's
America?
talk about
Oh, sorry.
guns.
Yeah.
I was
That was
waiting
a short list.
for this.
No, I guess I would say what I love about America is for all the stupid things we do, and we're easy to make fun of. Let's be honest. America's a very easy country to make fun of. It's a country that does a lot of stupid things. It does a lot of stupid things that a lot of Americans don't agree with. There's no you can't pin down an American as any one thing because I mean, just watch our political season. No one can agree on anything. But what America does well is it still is a country very much that you are very capable of making your own way if you really want to work for it. And I think sometimes we swing too far in the wrong direction on that sometimes, where I think too much stress is being made on you must work really hard and hope nothing goes wrong. But I think America is still very, very good at offering personal freedoms to do stuff. Sometimes you just have to move to a different state that's much politically different than the one you live in. Or right. Like it's the type of thing where there are areas of America. There's an area of America that caters to how you want to live your life, most likely. You just might have to move there. We have no big national consensus on anything really.
And I like that variance within your country. I think it's very interesting.
It can be awesome. It's bad if people don't know that those options are out there. Yeah. It's a lot of people have their idea of America is just the Deep South,
right?
Or just New England, or just California. And America is so different that it's really hard to pin down this is America, because there really isn't any America.
I just like how one of the least free parts of America is Washington D.C. It's just a little ironic.
Yeah, cameras everywhere, and yeah.
So what do you guys have to go through to buy a gun in Australia? This is not a picking thing. I'm just curious.
We're in this process, actually, to a degree. We've kind of dropped the ball on it, but that's actually a thing we're both interested in. You have to jump through a lot of hoops. Basically, you either have to demonstrate that you are a member of a recreational gun club that actually goes and actually shoots, and then you write a letter to the government saying, hey, that's my sport. Can I have a gun? And they'll say yes or no. Or you can say, I've got a property, like a big farm, or I know someone with a big farm, and they really need me to go shoot a bunch of bunnies. So they've written me a letter, and then you give that letter to the government and say, can I please have a gun? And they'll, and it's kind of strange. You can say, oh, my uncle has a farm, and he has a lot of snakes, and the snakes will bite his horses, so I need a rifle, and they say, yep, you can go buy a rifle. So I go and buy 2 Glock 17s. It doesn't have to make any sense. You just need the piece of paper.
I don't know that that's the case at all. I thought they were pretty specific about that and what kinds of guns you can own. But even so, we're never going to get fully automatics. We're never going to get assault rifles or anything like that. It's like pistols, shotguns, rifles.
It's actually very hard to get a machine gun here in America. You have to have at least about $12,000, and it's like a 12-month process with the ATF and the FBI to get a machine gun.
That's one thing a lot of people don't know is a gun like Dave's hanging on the wall back there, and I have one as well. They look really big and scary, but the civilian version, that's a semi-automatic rifle. Yeah, it's not. Yeah. You can buy the $15,000 fully automatic version with a lot of paperwork, a lot of work, a lot of waiting. For $600 or $700, you can get something like what Dave has on the wall.
Which is all I need.
Now, let me explain to you
just get him
the big difference in America. I don't know if you'll be able to see pictures on my phone.
Yep.
So I used to live in a camper, and that's a long story, but
when he was selling
we are
guns?
selling it.
No, I'm just kidding.
We're selling it currently. Okay, everything I'm about to tell you is 100% legal. We are selling the camper currently on Craigslist. Mm-hmm. Do you have a Craigslist? Is Craigslist in Australia?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if that was a national thing only. This guy contacts me. You're not allowed to sell guns on Craigslist, but he contacts me and says, I would like to trade you some things. I do not have the money. I would like to trade you some things for your camper. And I was like, well, this sounds interesting. What do you got? So first thing, this is a, was it a deuce and a half? He's like, I will trade you this.
It's an army truck.
And this is a 1911 in 357 SIG.
What?
And this is a shotgun with 40 attachments on it that looks really ugly.
This is wrong. He's on horrible
It's
things.
got a carry handle and a tactical stock. A lot of tactical
you say tactical. I love you guys.
This is a Ruger 1022 with an extended mag, bull barrel, bipod, long range scope. This is an AR-15 with, yes, that's right, ladies, a grenade launcher.
He's trying to put his murdering up behind it.
On a side note, that grenade launcher can only be used for flares in America.
Oh, okay.
Oh, really?
I can still shoot a flare into your house, though, Dave.
And a couple Walthers. Oh, this is an AR-10, like a pretty much a sniper rifle.
Great for hunting, actually.
So
the 308.
he was offering all that in trade for this trailer. He was willing to show up and take the trailer and hand me the guns. And in America, I don't have to fill out paperwork. I don't have to get permission. And there is no mandatory gun registration in our state. I actually only officially own one gun.
You do have
the rest of my
you have to make
guns-
sure that you are a resident of our state, though.
Yes. Now, I'm simplifying it a little bit.
Yeah, there are
I'm making
some
it sound like we're all
specifications.
crazy nuts, and that's not the case. But it is like I've bought most of my guns and sold most of my guns in parking lots to people I have just met. I arranged ahead of time to come meet them. But now responsible gun owners, if I'm making a sale to somebody, a responsible gun owner will check to see if they have a concealed carry permit, which means they are not a felon and they've been through gun safety classes and a few other things. Most responsible gun owners doing private sales will do that. So I don't want to make it sound like some crazy gun-free utopia. It's not that, but you can trade an RV for a whole bunch of assault rifles.
Firstly,
Guns
I
are
really
coming
hope
out of
you're
our
doing
fountains here in the U.S.
that.
I just wanted water, not a pistol.
That makes me very happy. I mean, make no mistake, I am pro gun ownership and gun use. Obviously, I shoot and I like guns. I also like not having to worry about other people having guns. And I've been to the United States, and it's kind of like I'm that asshole who, if you do the wrong thing, I go up to you and say, "Oi, buddy, you shouldn't do that," and potentially get into some kind of altercation around it. And I don't like the idea that someone can shoot me around that. It scares the hell out of me.
Okay. Now, when you say can, what do you mean by can?
I mean, there's enough
Physically
guns
has a
floating.
gun?
No, I mean enough guns floating around in society. Because in Australia,
Okay, you understand it's highly illegal. Like you.
oh, absolutely, it's highly illegal. There are so many
Okay.
guns
Just
there.
making sure you're like, and you could just shoot him if you
Oh
don't.
no!
I don't know how your news
12 o'clock,
portrays
let's
it
have a
over here.
duel.
I've discovered this thing in America, and this is a bit tangential, but this makes me super excited. You know what a mutual combat state is?
I'm not familiar with the term.
So here in Australia, if Jamer and I are on the street and I do this, a cop will run up and grab me and go, "Don't do that. That's illegal," right? So I saw a video of these guys in America getting into a street fight, and the cops rocked up, and it was very clear these guys are going to have a go. And the cop says, "Don't do that." And the guy says, "Well, this is a mutual combat state. We both agree." And the cop says, "Well, I think it's a bad idea, but if you say so, all right." And then they have a fist fight. Like, holy God, that's amazing. Like, why can't? And it's like they both agree. They're both sober. They're both adults. They should be allowed to have a fist fight.
Well, now that wouldn't carry through to like weapons.
Of course
beyond
not.
your
No,
fist.
no.
I'm pretty
Of course
sure
not.
most cops are like,
High
we
noon.
both our guns are similar calibers. I have a 10 round. He does have an 11 round. He told me he'd rack one out just before we started, and the cop's like, "That's fine. Everyone just take 20 steps back. These
I
gentlemen
just
need
see
to discuss
a
this."
bullet comes out of his sleeve, like pops it in. Like, you never saw that.
Yeah. But so in the late 90s here, there was a massacre at Port Arthur in Tasmania. And after that, the government went really crazy about guns. My dad had like shotguns and rifles, and he had to go and get them, they chuck them into a big machine that destroys them all, and they give him a bunch of money for it. So that's why we're kind of Nazis about guns. And the guy, I think, in Port Arthur shot like 17 people. That's one thing you guys do much, much better than we do. He just, it's not a very impressive record. And then he went and set himself on fire by accident. Yeah.
What?
Clever guy.
By accident?
Yes. Yeah.
So the thing with guns in America, is where you had to go get guns registered and stuff, because we don't have gun registration, and you don't have to private sale is totally legal for things
In most states.
in most states. Yeah, America has long passed the point where that would ever work here. Just because I can speak for myself. I would not go register my guns if that was made a thing. I don't officially own them. I can't prove I own this thing at all.
Dear ATF, I had a terrible boating accident.
Well, right, but I can't prove ownership of any of these. That's the thing. Is I don't have a receipt. I have a receipt from a store for one, but I can't prove I own any of the rest of them. So it doesn't it would actually be bad for me to even try to go register them, because that's the problem with kind of where we're at in America. Is there's no I understand what you're saying. You're worried about everyone walking around with guns, but in America, the way I think the general populace who is pro-gun views it is, we have passed that point so long ago. There are steps that can and should be taken to ensure safe gun ownership and to ensure that they aren't getting into the hands of the wrong people, things like that. But the idea, you'll never be able to confiscate guns in America, so it's not it doesn't make sense to even try. And because America does have that whole
Right to bear arms.
schoolyard scrappy spirit about them, even 250 years later, since we won our own freedom, I think even if it's not really true these days, like we still like to think like we could totally do it again. You know, whether or not that's actually true, America still very much has that spirit of, hey, you know, watch it or we'll get off of our scooter and waddle our morbidly obese selves away from the drive-through, and I'll get my machine gun that I have legally purchased. You know, so we like to maintain that kind of persona of, hey, we, you know,
there's actually a saying I kind of like that the process for political change in America to an extreme is the soapbox, the ballot box, the ammo box.
I love that. That's quite cool. Hey, what do you guys think about that study I heard about recently on Reddit about America is not a democracy but an oligarchy or oligarchy?
Wow, yeah.
Talk to?
I don't agree with it. But well, I am not qualified to talk about it a lot.
I had kind of an aside
I'm not
about
the
everyday carrying of guns too.
Feel free to wrap this at any point, by the way, guys. We are going to have to wrap it soon. We are going to have to wrap it soon.
Yeah.
But an oligarchy, for anyone who doesn't know, is a form of government in which all power is vested in a few persons or a dominant class or clique, government by the few. And in a sense, yes, that's true, because we do have we have a president and then a Senate, a House of Representatives. We have 3 branches of government. So compared to the population of America, yes, it is a government of few people comparatively. And there definitely is a precedent for powerful people win elections. They help friends win elections. And in very few places is the power setup really upset. Honestly, I don't think I understand that well enough, though, that I think I could make a determining statement one way or the other. But I think I would lean towards no, it is not an oligarchy compared to many other countries. People like to, especially on Reddit, people like to beat the whole America is a police state bandwagon thing. But that's really just, in my opinion, whiny people who have not had enough life experience or traveled to enough other places to realize America is actually an extremely free place. Like, we've got things that aren't good about us, but we are so far, like, if you've ever been to a real police state, those people would shut up immediately. Like, it's, I mean, and I'm saying that I think America has serious issues that need addressing, but I think we are so far from a lot of the things that Reddit seems to think America is becoming. Like, it's easy to pick up isolated incidents and say, oh, this is proof that, like, police brutality, you know, ignoring the fact that 99.999% of the time, that's not how the police are in America. And, you know, like, it's easy to pull out isolated incidents and say, well, this is what's wrong with America. But as a whole, no, I don't think we're an oligarchy. I don't think we're a police state. I mean, I think there are areas that could trend towards that given enough time, but it's really kind of presumptuous to say that that's what they are.
I mean, bad news sells. You know, I mean, same for a lot of other countries. Like, even just talk with some friends of mine that are been around the world. It's funny how you always hear like the bad parts of it, and they're like, no, it's not like that. I'm like, man, I feel like a fool, you know, but it's like, that's all I hear of, you know, unless I'm going to be studying like crazy. That's all I'm going to probably know or hear about.
Yeah. Look, I totally agree. Yeah, I mean, I found that study really interesting. And what they did was, just for your information, from my understanding, is that they said, what do rich people want? What do poor people want? What actually happens when government makes a decision? And they said, oh, there's more poor people than rich people, but all the government decisions help the rich people. So what they're saying is that it's not direct democracy because the bulk of people don't get to make decisions. The small amount of people get to make decisions. That, I think, was the point. And I think that's kind of what you're saying, is that it's not some conspiracy theory where they're all hanging out in a room together and they're conspiring to take your rights away. It's just that those are the power dynamics that are going on.
And I think the main problem with that, and this is my main issue with American politics, is money and politics are a little too intertwined here. And I think it's just because no one thought to really police that at first, and then it just kind of escalated, and here we are. And I think now the tide is turning against people being in favor of that. And I think as a lot of our really old Congress people start dying, not to put too fine a point on it, I think that will be changing within a generation or two. Because, like, no one in my generation, I've never met a single person in my generation who's in favor of that system.
Wow.
It's
until
the people,
they hit 40 and get rich.
Well, that's what I'm wondering. It seems to be the baby boomer generation, but the baby boomer generation has had a lot of advantages that our generations haven't in America.
Correct.
So I don't think our generation's going to hit 40 and be like, this system has done so well for me. Let's keep it going.
Yep.
Like that's not nearly the case as it was for the baby boomer generation. So I think it is going to change, but I think that's the main reason people could say, hey, this is an oligarchy. It's because people can use money so much to influence politics here. And I see the winds of change for that. Who knows if it'll actually happen or not, but I hope it does.
Sorry that I sidetracked you along political lines.
No, I can talk about, especially Dave, we can talk about political stuff for hours.
Actually,
we love
I have
talking
one
about
final
this stuff.
technical question that I am truly curious about.
Yes.
How common are suppressors in Australia? Like, what's the process for getting a suppressor?
Completely and totally illegal. You cannot
really?
purchase one. I actually
Next question.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Well, my partner and I used to work in the court systems, both court reporters. I've moved on. I work somewhere else now, but she still works there. And she was telling me a story about a guy who was purchasing accessories for his gun online. And bought something. I think he thought it was a scope when he bought it, or they shipped the wrong thing, but a suppressor came in anyway. And so I don't even know if he kind of knew what it was, but he chucked it in the corner. And 6 months later, the cops rock up at his house and they're like, we know you've got a suppressor, give it to us. And he ended up in court. And yeah, you cannot, absolutely cannot. No body armor, no suppressor. Even extended mags are a bit funny. Like, yeah, it's very tightly controlled.
I was actually just curious because it's a very strange law here in America. In the Great Depression in the 30s, Congress made suppressors restricted to cut down on poaching on public lands because of all the hunger that was going on. And that law just never got repealed. So I'm looking at possibly getting a suppressor in the next year for my rifle. And it's going to be a very expensive process and about 12 months of waiting to get one. Whereas in other countries, like even the UK, suppressors are considered like the polite thing to have for your rifle if you're doing target shooting, or like it's accepted, like you're supposed to have one. But here in America, it's like, who are you, 007? It's a very strange thing here in America with suppressors.
We're so like Harley, where it's like, if I can't hear it from 1,000 miles away, you ain't American.
Oh, man.
That is kind of how we're like. My last question, and then we will wind it down, is can you get a concealed carry permit? Like, can you carry it? No.
Negatory.
You can't. No open carry.
It's really kind of like. So I don't know what your gun safe laws are like there, but here you must store your ammunition and your gun in separate gun safes, right? Like.
Okay.
So, for instance, you can buy a lockbox, put your ammunition in the lockbox, put the lockbox in the safe. But when you transport the weapon, you have to transport it off your person in a vehicle, in a lockbox, separate to a different lockbox, which has your ammunition in it.
Unloaded.
Unloaded. There's none of this keep the weapon on you loaded kind of business. It's just totally unheard of.
That's similar in America when you're transporting a weapon, except for if you have a carry permit, then the gun is in use. It's called, if it's on you, that doesn't mean you can just like pull it out and wave it around. You absolutely can't do that. But it's in use, so you can skip the whole take the ammo out, everything else. But if it's not in use, you do have to keep. Now I don't know about lockable boxes. I think that varies state to state, but you do have to have the ammunition and the gun separate from each other. You're responsible for anything that happens to it. But in your house, you can have loaded guns laying around.
Wow. I've heard that in this state at least, and I haven't had this happen to me, but I've heard that the police, if you have a gun permit, will randomly knock on your door and say, we want to see the safe. And they come into your house and look at your safe and make sure that the ammunition is stored separately. And yeah.
That would, I want this to sound as non-threatening as possible. That would not happen in America.
Yeah, so I understand. Yeah.
That would not fly.
Yep.
If there's anything you're not allowed to talk about with people, it's where their guns are.
Your voting record.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I just wondered that because both Dave and I have carry permits and carry. We both carry on a daily basis, and we also open carry. We open and conceal carry depending on the season.
Actually, my employer has a carry system. I've been carrying at work. I work in IT. I've been carrying at work for 3 years now. It's actually very boring. A bunch of my department is armed at all times.
I feel very
goddamn
safe.
server, bam, bam.
Well, I suppose you must have very polite customers, though.
Yeah, well, we don't do a lot of customer interaction, but yeah, it's
They're
actually
all scared
very,
of your guns.
it's very,
We're
very
scared of our
boring.
freedom. And I say that like it could be a much longer discussion. Both Dave and I take a lot of pride in being responsible gun owners who value safety and everything else. And that's the majority of gun owners you will meet in America. Again, it's one of those things where really all you hear about are the crazies who are like showing up to gun rallies, like toting machine guns and yelling about how they're going to take America back from the Muslim liberal who faked his birth certificate to get into the White House. Like that is a very small minority. It's just all the ones you hear about. The majority of gun owners. Yeah. So with that, thank you everyone for coming out to Casual Shenanigans Guns, a podcast all about guns.
How we come
by you. It's definitely fun to hear other perspectives.
Sure.
It is. And you guys have a standing invitation, and I mean this. Anytime you want to come on the podcast, shoot us an email,
Next
and
Good
you
Friday.
are always welcome to come on.
Next
Good Friday. All right, sounds good.
It's really short, just more for their podcast.
Yes.
Yes. Check their podcast out. It's called The Dark Souls 2. It's really good.
Well, I was going to let them pimp themselves
I was just
out,
going to
Joel.
say that.
Thank you so much.
As a listener, I'm hoping to beat Dark Souls 2 before their episodes catch up to where I'm at, because I don't want to know anything. I want to know more about the lore, but I kind of want to know after I beat it the first time, so I don't have any spoilers. They're really good with not spoiling things.
Yeah.
But they'll talk about certain things or some features or items. So if you can,
So if I can say, yeah, look, we're basically releasing on a per area basis, and that's in the order that they appear in the game. So, yeah, look, we're not going to go ahead. We're not going to spoil things at the end of the game. We're focusing just. You played that area? Sweet. Go back and listen to an hour of us talk about what you missed in that area.
because you are stupid.
Yes, that's exactly what we want our fans to hear. But yeah, look, we would really appreciate anybody that wants to give us a look. It's always The Dark Souls 2.
TWO.
TheDarkSouls2.com, YouTube.com/Dark Souls 2, Facebook.com/ Twitter.com/ always The Dark Souls 2.
Oh, okay. I should have tagged you in all of our Twitter posts today. I'm sorry.
I'll live.
I'll tag you when it goes up, and more people hear that, so we'll tag you in that one. But thank you guys for coming out. And as always, you can follow us.
To end things here, I do have 2 brief comments of the week that are.
The comments of the week. I'm sorry, we have to.
It takes just a minute, and it's good.
They're good.
They're
good. Hit them.
Basically, we have a section each week where I post some of my favorite comments that I get on YouTube, because YouTube comments are just the peak of human interaction and communication. Both of these comments this week are actually from 2 video series that I have based off of the strategy game Empire Total War. And in this series, I'm playing through the American Revolution and then some of the early stages of the Americas with Manifest Destiny, Spanish-American War, stuff like that. It's a very fun strategy game. But in the beginning, I didn't always pronounce things correctly because, I mean, how many times do you guys use the word cavalry in daily use? Okay, I did not use that word constantly. So
I'm sorry, which word?
Cavalry.
Well, how did you say
Cavalry?
Cavalry, as in mounted horsemen.
All right, proceed.
So our first comment on the week of the week here is in all caps, of course. And I'm going to go ahead and prep my censor sound because it's just funnier when it's censored. And here we go. Cavalry are horse troops. Calvary is where Jesus was crucified. You didn't flank him with the place Jesus was crucified. You flanked him with cavalry, not streaming. Not Calvary, Jesus Christ. I laughed so hard when I got that comment. I get that comment at least every other day on that video. It's my original Total War video. And then this one, I got this about a half an hour ago during the podcast, actually. And I just did a double take.
Excellent.
Off the same series, playing as the Americas, as America in Empire Total War. This comment is from Kiz Jihad. And it reads, "Can you kill off the Plains Indians?" End comment. I was like, what?
I've always wanted to have some genocide. Could you do that for me?
Wow. Yeah, that guy loves his smallpox.
Yeah, Dave should just introduce. Does Empire have like game mechanics set up for cheap alcohol and transmittable diseases?
Well,
casinos that are rigged with bombs. I don't know what the protocol
take
is.
this blanket. It's really warm and will kill you.
So, while you're on the segments of your podcast, I was waiting for 90 seconds with Joel because I had a line for that. That's 60 seconds more than I need.
Joel, did you have a 90 seconds this week?
I didn't actually. That sums up pretty good.
Okay, that's fine, but that's pretty good. That's pretty good. So from now on, we need to throw in that's 60 seconds more than we need. And Joel, you forgot to sing the news song this week when we did the news. You said you were going to make that a thing. I forgive you.
You didn't. The way you didn't accentuate it like you usually do. It's just like time for the news. You just kind of like, all right, we're going to talk about some news. You didn't like give me that brief second, so I didn't hear that. I need to hear that like your voice. So
All right. Well, next time if you listen. Thank you, everyone, for coming out to Casual Shenanigans Gaming. As always, you can write into the show, casualshenanigans@gmail.com. You can follow us on Twitter at Casual Shenaniga, at JERMgaming, at Evil Viking, at The Dark Souls 2. You can follow us on iTunes, YouTube, subscribe to channels and things. All of those links are always in the description of the video. If you're listening to the audio-only version, thank you. Please rate us and review us on iTunes, but then go to YouTube so you can see the links to everything else you may have missed, including a link to all the links I can find for the Dark Souls 2. Guys, just email me all of the links you want included in the description to all of your stuff, and they will be included.
And in reciprocation, when does this go on the internet? How can we link back to you guys on our podcast?
I'll tweet you a link. It'll probably go live sometime between tomorrow and Monday.
Wonderful.
It just depends on how editing goes.
Beautiful.
But thank you everyone for coming out. As always, we appreciate you. Be sure to let us know if you would support us on Patreon. We want your honesty. If you'd say no, tell us why. I want to know. This is not because I'm planning on doing it necessarily. It's because I find it
But
very
if you all
interesting
wanted
as
to do
someone
it,
who does
then he'll do
marketing. If I got 60 or 70 people who said they wanted to, yeah, I'd think about it. I mean, I'm not going to lie. But right now, I'm more curious about it from just a marketing standpoint. So thank you, everyone, for coming out. And as always, stay casual.